member of our vault, worldviewtube.com/vault, which helps make programs like this possible. worldviewtube.com/vault for using Bella Grace, which is one of our major sponsors. MelissaHouseBG.com, MelissaHouseBG.com. All right. Anything else?
I can't think of anything.
So Merry Christmas,
Happy
New Year.
Happy New Year.
I'm Brannon Howse.
I'm Melissa Howse.
Take care.
Thank you.
Joining me now is Dr. Lana with the news. RFK Jr. plans to phase out artificial food dyes in the U.S. I think that's great news, but is it going to happen fast enough? Apparently the deadlines, according to Yahoo News, are around January of 2027 for medications and 2028. I guess it's food by 2027, and medications by 2028. What do these food dyes do to you? Let's talk about that. Also, what's one of the big health crises that Americans are facing? I read recently that one of them is, well, metabolic dysfunction affecting 93% of Americans. What is metabolic dysfunction? What is that? 93% of Americans? Wow. Joining me now is Dr. Lana. Dr. Lana, welcome back to the broadcast. Thanks for being with us.
Hi, Brannon. It's a pleasure as always.
Great to have you with us. Well, let's go, I guess we'll go to JFK first. We teased it up. The dyes in food and then medicine, phasing it out for food January 2027, and then medicine 2028. What do these food dyes do to you?
That's a great idea, because what happens is it's basically a foreign invader in the body. So the body's saying, okay, Houston, we have a problem. The body recognizes, when I work with my private patients, I always tell them, think one food, one ingredient. So the body will recognize a strawberry. The body recognizes a sweet potato or broccoli or asparagus or a banana. Well, when you've got something like a medication or an artificial substance such as food dyes, the body is saying, Houston, we have a problem. You know, what is this? So it mounts a response. It mounts an immune response because the body needs to protect itself at all costs. So now you've got the body starting to fight against itself. And also it can disrupt, the gut microbiome because it's in medications or it's in food that's not whole food. The body doesn't recognize it. Same with like too many vitamins and things like that, that the body really doesn't know what it is. So it causes the body to really fight against itself because it's a foreign invader and it's toxic. So the other thing it does is it causes, the liver does so many jobs for us. Your liver is, thank goodness, it regenerates itself, but it does hundreds of jobs. So the liver has to filter out all this foreign substance and these dyes as well. So it's not a good scenario for our bodies.
Well, when I go over to Children's Health Defense, I see several food dyes linked to neurobehavioral problems. I see food dyes make ADHD worse. I just went over there and typed in food dyes. At least a dozen states pushing laws to ban food dyes. Well, thankfully, RFK Jr. is doing that now. Synthetic dyes and popular kids' foods linked to hyperactivity and learning disorders. How long have we known this, by the way?
We've known this for years and years and years. It's just like the pesticides that have been spread on our food since they were registered in 1970, 1972, 1974, the pesticides were registered. So this has been going on in the United States for years and years and years. And it's why I tell people I'm not a big fan of cereal, but I've always told my patients and my families and mothers, that work with me. If you're going to get cereal, for example, because there's a lot of food dyes in cereal and candies and all that kind of thing, because it looks, it's bright colors, and to children that looks exciting, and, it stimulates them like they want it. So I tell them, go always, always, always buy organic cereal, and you'll find that it tastes better. And you have to be careful with cereals, but always buy organic. Absolutely always buy organic cereals. But this is just something that has been pushed aside for years, because there's big money when you buy, all of these foods. They're pretty, they're bright colors, and
so what are they going to do?
They sell food.
What are these companies going to do? I mean, they must have known there were. I mean, if the all natural cereal aisle doesn't have it, then they could have gone to it, right? And by the way, my mother and father-in-law have been big into the health food industry, or the health food lifestyle, well, for years. I think it started when my father-in-law had a big chunk of his skin removed and on his lower back from skin cancer. I mean, a big old scar, and they went pretty deep to get it out. My wife was just an infant, I think, when that happened, or a toddler, pretty young. And I think that was a wake-up call. And my mother-in-law really started reading. And I have to be honest here. Some of the things I thought when I first, married my wife and was hearing my mother-in-law talk about, I thought, I don't know about that. Turns out so many of the things that she was saying when I married my wife 34 years ago, she nailed it. She was right on the money. And I will say, my wife and I will read something and say, well, your mother knew that 35 years ago. I mean, we should have listened to her. But they would come and stay with us. And we would go to the store, and they would go to the all-natural aisle, and they would get the cereals, right? I like the Cheerios or the Fruit Loops and all those things I shouldn't have been eating. And they're over there on the health aisle getting what looks like some of these cereals, but all natural. And I should have been listening to them a long time ago on that, because they were way ahead of the curve. So I know these all natural things exist. And in fact, I even know some of the cookies that I would like. I could get the health version of the same cookie, right? Name brand cookies we all know. And you go over to the health aisle and get them. And I did. My wife and I did, when we had children, we started doing that. And as I ate them, like, these actually pretty much taste the same, and they're healthier. So my wife went that same route with our children. She wasn't, legalistic about it, but she didn't buy a lot of stuff with the red dyes. She really kind of followed her mom's course. So my mother-in-law does know best, I guess, at the end of the day, and did about 35 years ahead of what we read in the news. So back to my original question. If we have those dyes and the colorings in the all-natural cereals, then they must be able to use it. Or are they going to be in a big rush to try to figure this out? I mean, surely they knew this was coming. In other words, are your colored Fruit Loops going to all of a sudden not be colored?
Well, they've known, of course, they've known. And actually there's some easy, I know it's like you have to turn the mothership around, right? And that's easier said than done. However, it can be turned, because there are a lot of, herbs and spices and fruits and things that are completely natural that will turn food, colors. I mean, you can use a lot of natural things to color food. There's absolutely natural food dyes, and they use, fruits and vegetables and herbs and spices to do that. They also can use to sweeten things, because they're going to have to pull back all that artificial, that sugar, all the sugar cane and fructose and dextrose and everything as well. I'm sure that's next right after the food dyes, but they can add, stevia and monk fruit and all kind of natural plant-based sweeteners. So between using fruits and vegetables to dye the food and using some herbs to dye the food, you can also use stevia, monk fruit, a lot of natural plants to sweeten the food. So we have it. God made it. It's on this earth. They just have to put it in our foods. And a lot of companies do that already. A lot of companies do that.
Let's talk about microwaves. We did our big rally up in Milwaukee, 2 weeks ago tonight, a week ago tonight, hard to believe, a week ago tonight. And we went to Northern Illinois and we broadcast from there for a couple days to see my in-laws and family, my wife's family, and then did our rally and then went back and spent a couple more days. So we left on Good Friday. And whenever I go to my in-laws, for 36 years, we dated a couple years. So for 36 years, I've been going to my in-laws' home. If I wanted something to eat quickly, that really wasn't an option because they didn't have a microwave and they've never had a microwave and they still don't have a microwave. So they would heat up the old oven and throw in whatever I wanted to be heated up to eat. They did not have a microwave. I want to know, do you have a microwave?
Here we go. You know me by now. I am honest as day is long because I was raised by two good people. Thank God my mom and dad raised a good girl, right? So we do, and you're exactly right. And a lot of times it's just done. It's part of the kitchen and, it's in the kitchen. And so a lot of times what I will do is heat up water for different things on rare occasion, but you're absolutely right. You don't want to heat up food. You're just done. You've killed it. So here's a couple tricks that I do. If you need a quick snack or something on the go, always have a bowl of fresh organic fruits, vegetables, apples, bananas, pears. If it has the number 9 on it in the produce aisle, that means it's organic. You can also have loaves of there's organic, there's gluten-free bread, things like that. You can get organic nut butter, not peanut butter because it's a legume, but an organic nut butter, and just quickly make a quick sandwich with some organic nut butter on some organic gluten-free bread, things like that. There's also bars. I'm not a huge fan of protein bars because if you read the label, lots of times there's things on the label that you can't even pronounce. So Aloha, again, I get nothing from them, but Aloha is a brand that does a pretty darn good job of making protein bars. And yes, they have some with peanuts in them and things like that, but this isn't about perfection, okay? Unless you have a severe condition or you're celiac or you have a very serious medical condition, then you have to, and they exist, okay? Especially like terminal cardiovascular disease. It's something that can be reversed, but every bite of food matters. So those people are aside. This is if you don't have anything life-threatening like that going on, and you don't have to be the food angel 24/7, and you're busy and you're on the go. I've got a lot of tricks for making really quick protein shakes that are plant-based, grabbing a protein shake, grabbing an Aloha bar. And what I tell people, honestly, spend a little bit of money. They're like $2.60 or 70 cents. Buy one of each flavor. They're plant-based, organic protein bars made by a company called Aloha. So buy one of each flavor, try them, see which one you like the best, and then you're going to buy that flavor. So I tell people you can make a quick protein shake. I've got some ideas for that. Grab an Aloha bar with an organic, banana, run out the door. Make sure you have clean filtered water.
The problem with the microwave, I'm guessing, is maybe two things, right? The EMF it's putting out, number one, and then number two, what does it do? Does it just destroy any nutrients in the food?
Yes. So what I do, I'm a big fan of the Instapots, of a slow cooker, of even an air fryer. I am a big fan of air fryers. And then when we're ready to eat, you're ready to eat, and it comes out hot. And I know life isn't perfect, but the air fryer, the crock pot, the slow cookers, they keep food piping hot, and then just keep it in the slow cooker. If you have to, somebody called you have to answer the phone or do something, don't get the food out of the slow cooker until you're like, okay, I'm going to sit down and eat. But yes, it'll kill off everything. The other thing I mentioned, Caraway cookware. I have a Caraway teapot. So I'll put good filtered water in that and just keep that, boil some water. So if I want a cup of hot tea throughout the evening, it stays hot in that teapot. So you have to do all those little tricks. But
so you don't use the so it sounds like you don't really use the microwave that much at all.
Not for food that much. It is convenient, but you have to know you're killing off everything.
Mm-hmm. Let's talk about metabolic dysfunction.
Mm-hmm.
I read today that that's impacting 93% of Americans. What is that?
I'm telling you, your audience we can't make this up, because Brandon and I, we just have these conversations.
Yeah, we don't rehearse. We don't really rehearse.
No.
She had no idea what questions I was asking today. I just throw them out here.
This is how God works, right? It's your brilliance, and all my years of school, I was just a really good student. That's all, right? Standing on strong shoulders of incredible doctors that trained me. But, all glory to God, right, for that training. But this is a massive problem. I have helped patients with this for many, many, many years. And it is basically a pre-diabetic condition, if you will, going into a diabetic condition. Metabolic dysfunction goes back to my code, my system of wellness that I teach, is those cell membranes get clogged, and your body is turning acidic, if you will. Okay. And we cannot live like that. And now I want to be really clear, because there's some parts of your body that are acidic, like your stomach acid. You need that to be very acidic, like battery acid. And then your saliva is a little more alkaline. Your eyes are a little more alkaline. So there's different parts of your body. If you ever heard a doctor say, you're going to be all alkaline or all acidic, that's not the case. You've got different parts of your body, or some are acidic, some are alkaline, but your blood needs to be 7.35 pH to 7.45 pH, or you'll die. Life can't exist. So you've got to have that homeostasis. So metabolic dysfunction is really where the blood sugar is, the glucose is in the bloodstream. Okay. And, insulin is supposed to usher up, like a school bus, usher up that glucose and knock on the cell membrane's door and say, here, cell, I have all of this glucose that you're going to use for energy, right? You're going to turn it into energy, and we're going to feel, like we have great cognitive function, and we have physical energy, and we are ready to go, and we can move and think and breathe and use all of our limbs, and we feel great. But what happens with metabolic dysfunction is glucose is building up in our blood. The cell membranes are clogged. The glucose can't get in the cell to go make energy. Garbage and toxins cannot get out of the cell, and hormones can't get in and out of the cell appropriately. So the metabolic dysfunction is just what it sounds like, is the body is starting to move into dysfunction. It's starting to become acidic, and there is a way to get out of that. And it is really, your doctor may have said, your A1C is elevating. Oh my gosh, we've got some, maybe even some kidney issues. Your GFR, your glomerular filtration rate, is the number you need to watch for your kidneys. It needs to be way over 60. Okay. If it's starting to be close to 60 and lower, that's kidney issues. And you also, with metabolic dysfunction, besides A1C elevating, they may say, your glucose is a little bit high. And that just starts all of the other symptoms going south. But here's the good news, and Brannon and I we're gonna talk this week, but this is reversible. I mean, no one's God, and God has his plan with everybody, right? But this is something, thank goodness, that you can back this down. You can get out of this. And you're absolutely right. People are walking around, and nobody wants to hear this either. When people get about 10 to 12 pounds overweight, you have to get that off. The best thing you can do is be lean and eat whole foods, and you won't, drink good water, move your body, eat whole foods, and you're not going to move into metabolic dysfunction. But there is a way to get out of it.
Well, that's good news. Logan, do I have that new spot we produced?
Mm-hmm.
I like to play that. You know which one I'm talking about? How did you know, Thomas? And it's not one that's been corroded by someone texting it. It's the final version. Yeah, he's going to verify that, because I didn't know Thomas was in there running the controls tonight. All right. We have a brand new spot, by the way, that we're going to air for the first time I hope, with Dr. Lana on Hunter, Tom Hunter, and what happened. You're going to see this. It was sent to me by our team who's working on it. Melissa and I looked at it. Melissa made a bunch of changes. Melissa's kind of the art director when it comes to these health products that we love because she knows what they do. And she's very adamant. I know what I wanted to say, and I know what the audience needs to hear. I know the education they need to get about this. And so we'll go through 2 or 3 renditions before we finally air it. It's got to pass Melissa's test. So hopefully it has that. We'll play that. But let me go back real quick to the metabolic dysfunction. 93% of Americans, that's huge, right? So
it starts with weight gain.
How do you feel? How does someone feel? What are some of the symptoms of that?
You can get, first of all, you start to get tired. Maybe your joints are achy. You're not sleeping well, a little bit of brain fog. You may have GI disorders, but people say, you know what, I just don't feel well. And they'll say, oh, it must be my hormones. Or, the doctors might say, oh, well, you're getting older, and they just don't feel well. They're fatigued. They feel achy. They get a little depressed. They may have, like I said, headaches, brain fog, things like that. They may start to have GI issues as well, trouble, using the restroom, trouble going to the bathroom. But it usually starts out with like the fatigue, the brain fog, the joint issues, just general malaise. They just don't feel well. And I'll tell you right now, my mother, and again, Brannon and I, we can't make this up, but I implore you, if you hear one thing today, this is it. Brannon is right. This is sweeping the United States and Western affluent nations, metabolic dysfunction. And, my mother had a bad case of that. And she ended up having a year and a half ago an incident with, her brain where she didn't know what day it was. She couldn't form sentences. She didn't know who she talked to on the phone. She didn't know what time it was, mixing up day and night. And I got the glutathione in her. And we're not saying this product reverses a stroke or dementia or ischemic strokes or TIAs, or that's not what we're saying. But the brain desperately needs glutathione. All of your organs need glutathione. So when I got the swish in her, pardon me, she swishes 2 teaspoons 3 times a day now for about 4 minutes. You can spit it out. The reason she sat up in her chair about 5 minutes later after swishing was the glutathione was in her liver, it was in her organs, it was in her brain, it was in her circulatory system in 70 to 90 seconds. So her cellular function improved because every cell needs glutathione. And then a year ago, May, which was about 11 months ago now, when she had another minor incident with her brain, where I shared on another show, like her personality, my mother's a sweet, sweet, sweet lady and very kind. And you think she buried her son of brain cancer, her husband died of dementia, and still she always has a smile on her face. So a year ago, May, she had another incident with the brain, and it really affected her personality. And I was getting the glutathione in her. And my only other completely safe tool in my toolbox was the Gatatana. And I gave her a scoop, and she didn't taste like it tastes like plants in the ocean. Nobody likes the taste. So you put it in a couple ounces of cold coconut water, a couple ounces of plant milk, a couple ounces of chocolate almond milk, like my mom does. And I'm telling you, in days, her personality calmed down, came back to normal, because it was off the rails. People tell me that, my gosh, my mom or my dad or even children, their behavior is just off the chart, very unruly, tough to deal with. They become curt and sometimes mean, harsh. I've had so many people tell me, oh my gosh, with the Gatatana, they're calm, they're kind, they're normal again, if you will. And that is what happened with my mom. So
maybe that's what happened to me, because I was just up in Northern Illinois with my family members, my wife's family, which are now my family members. And apparently my sister-in-law, when I wasn't around, said, because I hadn't seen her in 4 years, Brannon is so mellow. He's really mellowed. I thought maybe I was just getting old, but maybe it's my Gatatana, all the Gatatana I take. But seriously, she said
telling you.
to my wife, he's really mellowed and relaxed. He's not nearly as hyper and, he's just more mellow and relaxed. So there you go.
Exactly. Exactly. You know why? Because this is glutathione's God's molecule. This is in your cells in seconds, 70 to 90 seconds. Gatatana is God's food. This is the first food on the planet, and it's microscopic, so you don't have to worry. If you have metabolic syndrome and your cell membranes are clogged, guess what, friends? You don't have to worry, because the Gatatana is getting through the cell membranes, because it's 1.2 microns, tiny, tiny microscopic, getting right through into your cells. And so is the glutathione. It's a billionth of a meter in size.
These really work well together.
This is like the perfect marriage. Glutathione, Gatatana. I'm like, it's God's molecule and God's food. And you know what? My patients named it that. I have to give credit where credit is due. But with both of these, I have my mother back. And it isn't making a health claim at all. I simply got pure, clean, comprehensive nutrition right into her cells in seconds. She takes a scoop every single day. I will not let her run out. And she swishes 2 white capfuls at least 3 times a day. She's going to be 89 this year, at least 3 times a day. If she's been a little tired, she'll swish 4 times a day.
Wow.
You can't go wrong. You can't get hurt on either one.
Right.
And it's the power punch. I always say, if I had to run to a desert island, take your Gatatana, your glutathione, and yes, we do take our wellness elixir with Bella Grace every day.
And you'll find this, by the way, at worldviewtube.com/sponsors. If you want to throw that lower third up there before we go to the new spot I want to debut with Dr. Lana, you'll find both those there. Now, let me ask you about 2 other issues.
Okay.
Dairy. See, she doesn't know what's coming, right? She has no clue what I'm about to ask. We don't rehearse. Dairy allergies, and how many Americans are suffering from dairy and dairy-related problems. And then the other one I want to talk about, which I don't really want to talk about, but I'm going to talk about it. And that is gut issues, BMs, constipation, because I'm looking at a report today, this is 2022. Today, the American Gastroenterological Association, good job, Brannon, pretty good by the guy with dyslexia, launched Trust Your Gut, an awareness campaign aimed at shortening the time from the onset of bowel symptoms to discussions with a healthcare provider. As a part of the campaign, AGA released a new study that shows nearly 40% of Americans have stopped routine activities in the last year due to uncomfortable bowel symptoms, including exercising, running errands, that kind of thing. Get Logan, he'll help you there, Tommy. So there you go, Dr. Lana. What about this? I know I'm not obviously going to name names, but I know enough people in my life and work life and family. Some have an issue with constipation. Some have an issue with every time they get done at a meal, they got to find a bathroom within like 30 minutes. I'm like, wait a minute. These are all gut issues. We got to ask Dr. Lana about this. Speak to this issue, please.
Absolutely. So I am a digestive health specialist as well, and I myself suffered with acid reflux, GERD, and irritable bowel syndrome. So I completely get it many, many, many years ago, and I don't suffer anymore, and I've helped so many patients over the years overcome that. So dairy, number one, dairy's a bad player. Dairy's a bad animal. The food guide pyramid is not there to keep us healthy. It's to keep us overweight and sick so that we are consistent consumers of the healthcare system, truly. So dairy, there's a protein in dairy called casein, CASEIN. And you know me by now, everything that I do in my practice is based on science, gold standard science, peer-reviewed science. So it's not my opinion, it's not my take on anything, but I promise you, if you remove dairy from your world, and that is any product that is made from a liquid that comes from a cow, a sheep, a camel, a goat. So all the milk products from cow's milk, camel, sheep, goat milk, remove them. And it's easier than it was years ago because there's a lot of substitutes. There's a lot of great plant milks out there, and I get real specific with people on how to switch out dairy. Very, very easy. Dairy needs to go away. Dairy has a long, long list of deleterious, bad, damaging things that it does to the body. It leaches minerals from your bones and teeth, number one. So it causes osteoporosis. Dairy promotes ear, nose, and throat issues in infants, babies, toddlers, and all of us as adults. Dairy promotes acne, teenage acne, adult acne. Dairy also causes constipation and diarrhea. Dairy actually paralyzes that peristaltic action in your gut. Like the peristaltic action is your gut is, your GI tract's muscles moving the food through after it gets dumped, from the small intestine, it gets dumped in your stomach and then it goes through your intestines and it's a big, long, it goes from your mouth down through, your rectum. Your GI tract is a big, long tube. So as it gets dumped from place to place, if you will, it gets all, mixed up and it's supposed to be absorbed into your cells. The nutrition is, and then the waste is excreted. Well, dairy causes like clumps in your stomach. I don't know if y'all know this, but a cow, the only thing that should drink cow's milk is a baby cow, a calf. And did you know cows have four stomachs, like four major parts of their stomach to break down dairy. We only have one stomach. It's so hard to break down. It actually causes that peristaltic action that moves things through our GI tract to be paralyzed, if you will. And so that's why people tend towards trending back between constipation and diarrhea. I mean, I could go on and on. Plus, dairy is really fattening. If you want to lose weight, you get rid of dairy. And gut issues. You're absolutely right. This should not exist, but we live in a Western affluent nation. We have a lot of stress. We have a lot of sugar. We have a lot of pharmaceutical drugs, birth control pills, alcohol, cough medicine, aspirin, over-the-counter medications, processed foods, processed sugars, fried foods. The list goes on. All of that breaks down our good gut bacteria. So now we have more pathogenic bacteria, more bad bacteria than good bacteria. And we've got to flip that. You're always going to have bad bacteria, but you've got to have more good than bad. So that's what's going on. We also, what happens when you have more bad bacteria than good bacteria, the food the junctures in our gut should be really, really tight. And the food starts to seep through the gut. And so you've got undigested food that gets in the bloodstream. And guess what? Like in the beginning of our conversation today on the show, the body mounts an immune response because it sees this undigested food in the bloodstream and it says, wait a minute, you're not supposed to be there. Houston, we have a problem. And so your immune system kicks up, mounts a response to that. And if that continues, you end up getting leaky gut syndrome, and that moves into autoimmune diseases. And guess what? That bad player, that terrible disease, cancer, is nothing but a terrible, profound failure of your immune system.
Say that last part again, please.
About the gut. The food is, you have more.
No, the part about why do we have cancer? What is cancer the result of?
Cancer, many times, is you've got this undigested food in the bloodstream. So then the body mounts an immune response. And if the body keeps mounting an immune response, and it can have an immune response from a lot of things, from stress, from sugar, from alcohol, from birth control pills, pharmaceutical drugs, over-the-counter drugs, sugar, processed food, all of that is an issue. And when the body continues to mount an immune response, that moves down the highway to what can be cancer. The body's become acidic now. Remember metabolic syndrome? The body is now too acidic. It needs to go back to homeostasis. So when the body becomes too acidic because the body keeps mounting an immune response, cancer is nothing more than a profound failure of the immune system.
And you study with some of the leading oncologists in the world, right?
two of the foremost cancer specialists in the world. One was fired from Memorial Sloan Kettering in the 1970s because he was going to be a whistleblower. And the other one has passed away of old age, and I have an NDA with their family. But bottom line, when you can balance the body again, get the body pH level balanced, so it's not trending towards acidity, you balance it and get it back in homeostasis, you heal up the gut, and there's a lot of different things. You've got to come at that disease with a lot of different, a lot of different arrows you have to get out, of your quiver when you're dealing with that disease, and every human being is different. But it has a lot to do with diet. You get the pH balanced again in the body, so the body's in homeostasis, and it has a lot to do with faith, your mental outlook, your good water, and naturally killing those cancer cells instead of plummeting.
Stress, worrying. People sit around worry and stew and worry. Is that a contributor to cancer?
Well, it's a contributor to a lot of things. And you can't say something specifically causes cancer, but stress causes, I'll tell you what it does cause that can lead to that. Stress causes, you've got your parasympathetic nervous system and your sympathetic nervous system. And the sympathetic handles stress. It's like, I just described this to a patient today. It is like you are running from the bear in the woods. Okay, if a bear is chasing you, certain symptoms will kick up. Your blood will flow, you need energy, you will go. Your digestive system will shut down. You're not going to take time to go to the bathroom. You're not going to take time to stop and eat lunch. So all those systems shut down. It's why people that are high stress, they have constipation. Sometimes they have diarrhea because their body is continuing into that high stress fight or flight mode, which is the sympathetic nervous system on overdrive. We are supposed to be able to run from the bear, but not every day, all day. You run from the bear, you climb in a house or a tree and you hide from the bear, and the bear goes away, and then you're like, oh, okay, I'm fine. But what's happening to so many people, their stress level is so high, and it's constant. It's either from people or work or food, or they're worried about health or finances or relationships or what have you. That fight or flight never stops. And so the hormones are continuing, the cortisol.
Does this lead toward heart conditions as well?
And it can. And believe it or not, cardiovascular disease, and I'll talk to you about this another time, but cardiovascular disease, the leading killer of Americans, the leading killer of women, the leading killer of people on earth is cardiovascular disease, some say heart disease. It's reversible. You can eat your way into heart disease. You can eat your way out. Cardiovascular disease, and I'm actually, we couldn't even plan this. I talk a lot about Harvard calls the four horsemen in the medical world, okay? These four diseases. It's cancer, cardiovascular disease, Alzheimer's, and diabetes. I'll say them again: cancer, cardiovascular disease, Alzheimer's, and diabetes. And I promise you, we're going to be talking about this, but Harvard calls them the four horsemen in the medical apocalypse, if you will, those four diseases. And if you get a handle on three of them, you're probably not going to get a fourth one. And there's a way a lot of this is reversible. We're just not taught. Medical school is for, we need our medical doctors, but for acute trauma care, you don't want to be anywhere else in the world. Our well-meaning medical doctors spent lots of years in school, like I did, spent a lot of money, and they took an oath as well. But their toolbox is different. Their toolbox is not for chronic degenerative diseases. But if you break your leg or you're in the middle of a heart attack, oh my word, call 911, get to a great hospital system and get taken care of by amazing, cardiothoracic surgeons and whatever you need, orthopedic surgeon and anesthesiologist, of course. But we're not taught how to reverse chronic degenerative disease. That's what I spent years and years in school learning to do. But if we can get a handle on this, we will change the landscape of healthcare in America. We absolutely will. And God bless RFK Jr. and our president for all they're doing. Because
absolutely. So final question before I play our brand new video. People that struggle with digestive issues, particularly say, is there any truth to the fact that you end up with waste that hardens and is against the lining on the walls of your intestines? And of course, this then leads to bloating and, extended stomach and whatnot. Is there any truth to that? And if there is, how do people correct that problem?
Absolutely. And it's just build up over time. And sadly, it starts with, and I'll make this short and succinct, but because it's a long, answer, but quickly, it starts with our baby formula in the hospitals. That's full of dairy and a lot of ingredients that shouldn't be in there. So it starts, if the mom isn't breastfeeding, and that's a whole other topic, but they get, for whatever reason, and I'm not blaming the new moms, because they get told a lot of things and they get scared. And so the next thing you know, their baby's on formula. And again, usually no fault of the new mom. And so now our infants are on dairy-laden formula that isn't natural. And you move through the rest of our lives with artificial food and fast food and what have you, and food additives and food dyes. And so, yes, all of that builds up, and we don't get enough fiber. We don't eat whole foods in the main in this country. We live on, a lot of processed foods. So there's not enough nutrition and there's not enough fiber in our diets. We're not even taught really how to do that. And I go back to the food guide pyramid, which we know is designed to keep us sick and overweight. So it does build up. And so some of the things that you can do is, and again, I try to save everybody money with things like that. It's not, you don't go get multivitamins. You don't go get psyllium husks. You don't go get all this fiber that's in, canisters and mix it up with water and all that stuff. Don't do that. What you need to do is shift away. One of the things, and there's a lot of things you need to do, but one of the things you do is shift away from processed food that's in boxes and packages. And if it has a lot of ingredients, don't do it. You've got to get nutrition and you've got to get fiber into your system naturally. And that's with one food, one ingredient. So when you're making a meal, think, oh, okay, this is rice, one food, one ingredient. This is a sweet potato, one food, one ingredient. Oh, this is cut up apples and pears, and, I'm going to sprinkle cinnamon on it. Those are all one ingredient, one food. And I teach people that. Just think one and one, and start making your meals with things that are just made with one ingredient. And God made all those things.
And that will be the roughage that you need to start cleaning things out?
Right. And it's a really slippery slope. And I help people with this because if you have gut issues, the way you prepare your food and specific foods are really, really important, because you can't go, ironically, if you have gut issues, especially, diverticulitis or Crohn's colitis, irritable bowel syndrome, bloat, GERD, acid reflux, all the above, you've got to be careful with how you cook food. You can't handle a raw salad, believe it or not. You're better off cutting up like bananas and apples and pears, and you're better off in the beginning cooking your vegetables. It sounds really counterintuitive, but when you have gut issues, my friends, you've got to treat your GI system like you're a toddler again, like starting to eat. You have to be really, really gentle with the food you eat. And there's a lot of detail to this, but we'll talk about that.
Wow.
And help people. Yeah.
You are so fascinating. Inspired by wellness.com, inspiredbywellness.com. Now, let me know what you think of this. Let me think, what's that?
I had good teachers.
Yeah, well, you sure did. Let me share this with you. You ready, Thomas? We're broadcasting this for the first time. The team just finished this yesterday. Tell me what you think.
Wow.
Here we go. July 6, 2005. This is Tom Harper. Man figures plankton stopped his rare cancer. We got more of a response from our viewers than anything else you and I have ever discussed.
Tom Harper, 20 years ago, he had mesothelioma, deadly, lung cancer, was given weeks to live, and he just intuitively started to eat the phytoplankton out of his fish tanks because he fed the phytoplankton to his shellfish. He was a shellfish farmer. And when he went in for the surgery, the surgeon came out of the operating room and told his family, I have not ever seen anything like it. The cancer is benign, and Tom Harper lived for years. He retired in Hawaii. We're not making any claim.
Here he is in his own words.
Started on a daily routine of just taking a bit of paste, putting it in my mouth, and wash it down with a drink of water. Within about 10 to 15 days, here I am, less pain in my back. I knew that something was going on, so I just kept eating half a teaspoon of this paste a day. I was booked to go for surgery in Victoria where they were going to do what they call a talc treatment. They went in there to have a look, saw something they never seen before, took 11 sites, sent them away for biopsy. I got the news back. Everything was benign. They just did not know what to make of it. Everything was absolutely clean. And I've tried dieting all my life because I'm a diabetic. If it's a coincidence or not, I don't know. My blood sugar started dropping. My weight started falling off. Here I am, no longer requiring insulin, and I was taking 88 units a day of insulin. I can eat just about what I want in moderation, and I have no elevated sugar levels, and I feel fabulous.
People, you hear the word cancer, and they want you to be instilled with fear. Cancer is nothing but a profound failure of the immune system. And what happened with Tom Harper is the phytoplankton is microscopic. It's God's microscopic food. And the Gatatana is the most nutritionally comprehensive strain phytoplankton in the world. David Hunter studied phytoplankton for 20 years because he worked for Tom Harper and he was there in person and witnessed Tom's recovery. It's about getting pure nutrition inside your cells. And what happens, your body balances again or goes back to homeostasis. And when your body is pH balanced or in homeostasis, disease can't grow. It is literally microscopic, pure single cell plant food with protein and omega-3 fatty acids, omega-6 fatty acids, with amino acids and vitamins and minerals. One scoop a day. There's 90 billion plant cells in here just for everyday nutrition and energy and, cognitive support, because this is God's pure nutrition.
Go to melissahousegpa.com today. Discover the science and learn more about the wonderful benefits of Gatatana phytoplankton. That's melissahousegpa.com. melissahousegpa.com.
Well, there you go. What do you think of that?
Perfect. I couldn't have said it better myself. Perfect. You're all so talented, and it's such a needed message in the United States of America. We have to get all the families in America taking a scoop a day, and you could take up to 10 scoops a day if you're really, really not feeling well. But it's God's microscopic food, and we're blessed to know about it. That's for sure.
Indeed. And by the way, I want to announce to you, we also have something new we've just launched, a Worldview Tube Home and Health channel. We launched that yesterday. Worldview Tube Home and Health channel. And we're going to take interviews like we just did today with you. And we've done a bunch with you and other doctors and other experts and run them along with Melissa's home show, House to House. Because again, what we just covered today are so vital. Most people, if they were to go to their doctor with the things that we were talking about today, they wouldn't have gotten these answers. They would have gotten a prescription or something, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's their toolbox.
So we're going to keep that going. Home and Health channel. You can check it out at worldviewtube.com, the second player. Dr. Lana, thanks for being with us.
It's a pleasure. God bless.
Dr. Lana checking in. And folks, go there, will you? To worldviewtube.com and tell your family and friends about home and health, will you? Tell them about home and health. And of course, then go over to worldviewtube.com/sponsors, worldviewtube.com/sponsors. And that there is where you're going to find our, great products, including Gatatana, the Numi, the Swish, and more. All there at worldviewtube.com/. Joining me now is Dr. Basma Williams. I want to talk about, something we like to talk about here a lot. It's health. I don't know. As I get older, it's a topic I want to talk about more because I want to be healthy. As I of course, have had the experience to interview a lot of medical doctors related to COVID and the COVID crisis and all this going on. Again, it's a topic that our audience is extremely interested in. And we know that there are many issues that impact people's health. But how many of them are reversible, are preventable? We've got all kinds of them. We've got cardiovascular diseases. We've got the issue of cancer. I was reading a report today, in fact, 10 million people die annually from cancers. 10 million, really? You have, of course, mental health disorders. That seems to be on the rise. Dr. James Thorpe's done a study with the psychiatrist, Dr. Peter Breggin and others on that. All the psychological disorders, and they're tying it back to the shot, the bioweapon. Anxiety, depression. Then you have neurological disorders that seem to be greatly increasing. Autism, dementia, Parkinson's, these kind of things. How much of this is environmental? How much of it is genetics? How much of it is reversible or preventable? The last thing I want to end up with is dementia or Parkinson's or Alzheimer's, that's for sure. I have a friend of mine, he's getting advanced in age, so that kind of comes with the territory, right? He's a pretty wealthy guy, but he really can't do much. He has the ability to pretty much do whatever he wants. He has a private plane. He has all these things he can go do. But if you don't feel good enough, he doesn't get to use a lot of what he has because he doesn't feel well enough. And yet I know other people that are his exact age that are out doing all kinds of activities. All kinds of activities. So at some point, you can't put a price on your health. Because I know guys that have money, they can't hardly get out of their house. And some of this, of course, I think is preventable. My wife, she's very big on me moving, getting up and moving and walking and exercising. She thinks I sit at this news desk too many hours out of the day or at the desk studying and reading, and she's probably right. How much of these things are preventable or reversible? Let's talk about that. What are some of the biggest health crises facing us across the globe and here in America? Dr. Basma Williams joins us. Many of you will know her as Tina's, with Worldview Talk, Tina's sister. Tina, or Basma, that's your full name, or do you go by a shorter name?
That's my full name, yes.
That's it. All right.
Yep.
So, what do you make of my opening monologue?
Yeah, first of all, thank you so much, Brannon, for having me here. And I love having platforms that I can stand on as a functional medicine, board certified family practice doctor, that I can actually speak truth into people. There's so much nonsense going around. So I really appreciate this opportunity. And I hope that we have a lot more sessions like this. But what I want to have a lot more sessions like this, but I also make sure I understand you're an MD. You're also in medical doctor and functional medicine as well, right? That's right. That's right. Because I, like you, was in practice going, what the heck? Why are we seeing so many more autoimmune diseases, so many more cancers, so many more heart attacks, and how many of these are preventable? And some of these patients were getting younger and younger and younger. And so I started just randomly reading books for my own health and wellness. I wasn't suffering from anything, but I'm like, what is going on environmentally? I knew it was a multifactorial problem. It wasn't a one thing. It wasn't just the fat-free cookies that we ate in the 80s that caused this epidemic, and the high fructose corn syrup that they started adding to our foods in the mid 70s, which started increasing obesity rates significantly. It wasn't just one thing. It wasn't just the vaccines and the 7 or 8 shots we give, a 2-month-old at one time. Like those are so ridiculous. And by the way, I'm just sharing information. I'm not giving anyone medical advice. Just want to throw that out there. But what I do want to say, one good thing that came about with COVID is what we learned explicitly is that lifestyle matters, because we saw a significant decrease in people who had a good lifestyle, normal weight, worked out on a regular basis, slept well, had good control of their stress, etc., we saw that their rates and complications of mortality and morbidity was significant, and hospitalization rates were significantly less compared to those who had a unhealthy lifestyle, including things like being obese and taking certain medications and having high blood pressure and things like this. So what we sort of concluded from a functional medicine perspective is, man, lifestyle matters not only in long-term prevention of chronic diseases, but also in outcomes of an acute problem.
All right, so let's talk about some of the things we were talking, I guess we're saying the same thing. It's this collection of things, right? But you mentioned the 1970, the oil. What kind of oil did you mention?
It was actually sugar. It was cheaper to use high fructose corn syrup, and the shelf life on the shelf of foods. So they started putting it in everything. They replaced sugar, natural sugar, with high fructose corn syrup, which has dramatically different outcomes inside of your body in terms of how your body processes sugar and its glucose or fructose. And so what it slowly led to a national epidemic of something called non-alcoholic liver disease, meaning when I was in medical school, the most common cause of liver disease was alcoholism. And all of a sudden now it's fat storage inside of the liver due to high glucose and fructose intake. And high fructose corn syrup is linked to that indirectly. So, and
they knew that did they know in the 70s what it was going to do to people?
I don't think they knew in the 70s what it was going to do to people. And I also don't think that it was that they recognized how much of this stuff people were going to eat. And the truth of the matter is, if you're genetically predisposed to prediabetes, for example, you may metabolize glucose differently. And the problem is when your blood sugars go up, your insulin level goes up. And then your blood sugars bottom out, like when you eat something sugary, all of a sudden an hour or two later, you feel really tired. And you have to eat more sugar to keep up with that elevated insulin. And it's a vicious cycle all day long. And so I think that's the effect that the high fructose corn syrup was having, is it was creating this overwhelm of eating more and more, a lot more than what a person needs to sustain their, what they need, period, daily in their macronutrients. Not only that, it also increased the balance of carbohydrates amongst the three macronutrients, proteins, fats, and carbs. It significantly increased how much carbs people were eating. We tried to combat the obesity epidemic that we started seeing in the 80s with creating fat-free foods, which of course did not solve the problem. It only added even more fuel to the problem, because it gave people this misidea of, oh, I can eat as much as I want of these fat-free cookies. But what I really want to focus on is some solutions that we have created that has had a huge impact on our patients.
And I'm guessing part of that is gut health, because when I go to your website, I see you have a whole course on gut health.
Yeah, we have a whole course on gut health, the Feel Good Gut Health, because one of the reasons we started with gut health is because 70 to 80% of your immune system is in your gut. So we know that when we really heal and take care of the gut, and by association, then we also focus a lot on nutrition. When we really focus on that, we see a significant improvement in health and wellness in our patients. They're feeling better. Their joint pains are not, the significant decrease in joint pains, eczema, rash goes away, brain fog goes away, all sorts of numbness and tingling, restless leg syndrome. I have patients on so many drugs that we actually systematically, slowly decrease. I've significantly decreased the number of drugs I've written every year. And I've also, I actually stop more medications than I prescribe every year. And I'll tell you something else really quick. This is one of my favorite vitamins. If you don't mind, I want to share it. This is my Magnesium Restore vitamin. And this particular vitamin is the reason why I have not written a prescription for a sleep drug in close to 15 years, with the exception of sometimes I'll need to use it like for 1 or 2 days, depending on, surgery, or if it's a travel issue, then we want to do that. But I really I have 0 patients on long-term sleep aids. I don't need them. We teach people how to sleep. We teach people to take care of the root cause of the problem. It's time to turn that sink off that's over flooding rather than mopping up the floor.
Mm-hmm.
We need
Go back to that the vitamin. What is that again?
This is called Magnesium Restore. It's from myvitamin.com. And myvitamin.com is a company that I started because, as you can imagine, if I'm seeing a wife, a mom, she is, after we get her on some really good supplements and good nutrition plan and everything else, almost always, what can my husband take? What can my kids take? And I'm like, well, I'm not their doctor, but maybe if I created a company, so we created myvitamin.com, and these are the med packs that a lot of our patients order, where they will get a pack, morning pack and evening pack. So morning supplements, evening supplements. Obviously, we've put this magnesium in the evening to help with calming down the brain, time to shut off that brain that's going, 24 hours a day, like that. And so we made these med packs primarily because our patients were asking for them. And we took care of our patients. We had given them these professional grade supplements, but they wanted the same for their families, whether it was their teenage kids or their spouses. So we created these. We have foundational packs for men, for women, for teenagers. This is the most popular pack. It happens to be called My Vitamin Calm and Restore. It's especially for people who are doing a lot in their life and feel wired all the time. It's especially nice and calming. Everything in there is natural. There's nothing weird in there, which is why we can offer it on a national show like this, because it's very safe to take. You always want to run it by your doctor, but man, we've got so many tricks up our sleeves as functional medicine doctors that we've helped people. My favorite thing to do is educate and empower, because if we can educate and empower, then we have forever change. We don't have temporary change. This
is fascinating. By the way, I think we have a URL, which is myvitamin.com/worldview. If you use that, we'll get a little credit here and help support the network at the same time you're supporting your health. We love this kind of relationship. So go to myvitamin.com/worldview. Now, I want to go back to that packet. I just asked Melissa to bring into the studio the packet, because when Melissa, check this out now. How long have you and Melissa been working on this? A month, over a month, right?
Yes.
Yeah. And so you shipped her some packets, and first of all, I liked the packaging. I said to Melissa, that's very attractive packaging. I like the way it was organized. You just rip off your pack, for morning, for night. You had it for men, you had women. She's going to bring it into the studio. I want to show it, because I was pretty impressed with the work you guys went to. Tell me, on average, what is a pack? Is there a specific pack for a specific person? There's one. I know there's one for a man. There's one for women. Tell me about how that works as she, I think, walks into the studio here. Yeah. Here we go. Check out this packaging, folks. So here it is. This would be the one. Do you know which one's for the men, which one's for the women, hon? It says inside. Yeah. Okay, so you open this, it says open here. So you open it up. And then and then there's one for the evening and one for the morning, right?
Yes.
Help me out, babe.
So these packs came from these packs came from literally 15 years of seeing patients from a functional medicine perspective. And to be honest with you, Brannon, when I first started seeing patients almost 30 years ago, I knew that most supplements had a lot of contaminations in them, were not effective. So efficacy was questionable. And on top of that, we don't really absorption. We don't know if they're going to be able to absorb it, break down those really hard pills and absorb the nutrients. We don't even know if there were what was promised in the pill was actually in the pill. And so I actually, for years, and there's so many studies that collaborate with this. So for years, I actually told my patients, don't take supplements, because I didn't know what they were putting into their body. It wasn't until I became a functional medicine doctor and I had a chance to really understand and explore some of these companies that we work with now that help us make our supplements now in terms of over delivering and under promising. And the fact of the matter is, when I put my patients on supplements, my expectation is a certain result. And if I don't get it, it is not because these supplements aren't good. It's because there's something else going on. That's also why we have a 97% retention rate. 97% of my patients and people who buy supplements through myvitamin.com continue to purchase them there because
97%.
Yes,
Wow.
they actually feel the difference. You actually feel the difference of how you feel. So we created these based on my years of doing actual lab testing and seeing that I would say about 98% of my patients were deficient in magnesium. And it's a no-brainer to go on a magnesium. Now, the type of magnesium you choose, you have to be really careful because the majority of magnesiums have undesired side effects of diarrhea. And so you really have to be careful. So this one does not do that. And it also helps you sleep, and it also helps relax your muscles. So really, there's so much thought put into every single supplement. So basically, you're getting a functional medicine consult by ordering your med pack, because this is work that I've done based on actual data, not just my opinion. And so we put vitamin D in everyone's med pack because we know how critical vitamin D is. I mean, now we all know, because just look at COVID patients, the patients who had the least amount of vitamin D fared the worst. Well, we know that vitamin D is critical for your immune system function. We know that this fish oil that we put in our supplement pack, we know that fish oil is super important for balancing out your omega-3 and omega-6 fatty acids, because if you have too much omega-6, which the majority of my patients had, then you are primed for inflammation rather than anti-inflammation. So a lot of people don't realize omega-3 oils churn down inflammation. So when I had patients who had COVID and who were in the middle of a cytokine storm and inflamed, I would put them on a very high dose of fish oil to churn the cytokines down. It dims them down. But so these are like little nuances you don't have to think about, because I already thought about it all because I've been doing this for so long.
You've been doing this over 25 years, right?
I've been a physician for almost 30, but I've been doing functional medicine specifically for about 15 years.
Wow.
So a long time ago, when I had my first miracle happen in my office, where I just simply had a patient quit eating gluten because of a book I randomly read, that was eye-opening, because had she not done that, she would have, and she was only 22, her name was Sarah, she would have suffered for so many years. Because when you think about it, and so what we ended up doing, she came in with joint pain, had rheumatoid arthritis, and we sent her to a rheumatologist. She wasn't getting better. She came back to my office. Dr. Williams, what else can you do? I ran some non-typical blood work panels that were not typical of somebody coming in with joint pain. One of the panels we ran were celiac disease panels. And we diagnosed her with celiac disease. And once we took gluten out and started healing her gut, her joint pains went away. She was left on just a tiny bit of one medication. Prior to that, she had been on several that weren't working. And eventually I had left my practice because that was traditional medicine. And the corporate world was really upset that I was doing what I was doing, because after doing it so I never got to fully get her off medication, is what I'm trying to say. But because I only had to leave my practice because of,
Because are you saying to me that you because you weren't using the prescription pad, that was...
I was doing weird. Yeah, I was doing weird things in my office, like doing stool studies. That was weird. Sorry.
You were doing stool studies. And I
was doing stool studies and all these biomarkers that the medical board asked to meet with me. Sorry, give me 1 second.
Yeah, the medical board asked to meet with her. Wow. Look, this here is one of the pack. Now, this is the calming pack. This is what Melissa is now on. She just told me that. She said, Brent, I'm on the calming pack. I don't know what that means, the calming pack. I want to ask Dr. Williams what that means. But she has her morning. It says AM. It has a sun sunshine, the morning, right? Sunrise. And then she has the bedtime, the calm pack. So she has one in the morning and she has one at night, okay? And then this is the men's pack. Same thing. There's one for the morning and then there's one for the evening. And we'll ask her. Oh yeah, I can tell you right here. There's a multi for the men. There's a multi with iron. There's a D3, K2 D3. There's a mega oil. There's magnesium. How you say it? Magnesium chelate.
Yes, magnesium chelate.
Chelate. Well, see, I was trying to use phonics. It was CH, so I was trying my phonics, didn't work. Antioxidant blend. So this is the man's, and that was the one for the for the morning, probably, I guess, was it? But you have now Melissa's on the calming one. She just told me that. I had no idea she was on a calming one. No wonder she's been so chilled lately.
It really, we actually did a test on some of our patients checking their HRV, heart rate variability response, which indirectly measures stress response. We actually saw an improvement in HRV scores after just 1 month of using the Common Restore. That's how we knew with that one, we kind of hit a home run. So for anyone who knows anyone who's wired and tired and busy and has a plate that's just overwhelming and full, this is a great supplement pack for them.
Okay, so there's the one for the men and there's one for the women. Now, this is the calming pack. This is the men's pack.
There's a foundational women. So the foundational one was based on just some foundational deficiencies that I consistently saw in people. And so that's what the foundational ones are. So everyone should be on a foundational. Now, the Common Restore has the foundational plus the calm, the things that help with calm, sleep, and adrenals, adrenals that are on the go, just calming everything down. Also, what a lot of our patients do is they'll take the foundationals, which includes a multivitamin, a really good fish oil, really good magnesium, and some K2 D3, all highly absorbed. All of our supplements are powder form, so literally their absorption rate and their efficacy rate at the cellular level is really, really good. Now, what you're also going to do for some people, for example, somebody who might have a genetic predisposition to dementia based on family history and also maybe ApoE testing, things like that we can also do. What we would recommend is adding the foundational plus the brain health. So if you look at the website, there are some people that are really worried about their immune system, especially during COVID. We sold a lot of the immune pack during COVID, and you add the foundational plus the immune. So you can get that in 2 different packs, and we're also going to be combining all of those packs as well.
Excellent. Now, tell me about, you mentioned something a while ago about people having tingling in their hands. So let's say you have someone that has gluten allergies, okay, but also has tingling in their hands, numbness, dizziness, these kind of things. And you go to the doctor and the doctor runs a blood sample and maybe says, we got to talk, we see some things. But what are they likely not checking for? The typical doctor's office.
They're not checking at gut health. They're not looking at nutrition. They're not looking and seeing that certain foods that you're eating, for example, in certain people, gluten can be a neurotoxin. So I literally will have people stop eating gluten who come in with restless leg syndrome without even checking any labs, because I've seen way too many times where gluten is the cause of the restless leg. And then we can start tapering off of the drugs that patient has been placed on by their primary care doctor slowly, but that's certainly something that's easy to do and certainly worth doing. When we talked about that, it was in the context of overall gut healing. So this is one of those things where if we can improve the immune system insofar as decreasing leaky gut and improving nutrition, so it's kind of like taking out some bad and adding a whole bunch of good. Some of the good we're adding in are the supplements, but also we're looking at nutrition, we're looking at sleep, we're looking at diet, stress management, all sorts of things that we're doing in addition to, eliminating some of the things that might be harmful to your body. There's And they're so innocent, like gluten is an innocent thing, but yet in some people can cause really bad inflammation.
Is this because of the glyphosate in our bread and flour and everything?
It's because there's a protein called gluten that our bodies cannot fully process. And it is a leading cause of leaky gut. And if you have celiac disease, then your body's attacking it with antibodies. So we can actually check antibodies to gluten metabolites to actually look to see if your body's attacking your own cells because of what you're putting into it. So
Why is this a new phenomenon, it seems like, in the last 10 years, 20 years?
Well, for one thing, we didn't understand. We didn't even know what a leaky gut was. When I was in medical school, I didn't even know that 70 to 80% of the immune system was on the other side of the lining of the gut. In fact, when I tell people, and I have a lot of patients who are doctors, when I
Wait a minute. You have a lot of patients who are doctors. So,
You know what? Yeah, and let me just tell you one more thing. That one of the first set of doctors that started coming to my practice are oncologists. What does that tell you? And I was so happy that they were, because we know if we can shut down inflammation, we don't just shut down cancer, we shut down a whole bunch of things.
So when I hear surveys that I've heard now for a few years, like 90% of oncologists or some huge number of oncologists, if they got cancer, they wouldn't do chemo or radiation. Are you telling me some of them who are oncologists that I'm not doing that and they came to you?
That they came to me primarily for prevention, not treatment of a cancer, prevention of cancers and other things. And the reality is, whatever it is that you're seeing. So if your reality is that you're seeing a lot of cancer cases, you don't want that. So you're going to do whatever it takes to not get it. And that's our reality. It always, one thing that was always really, really gut wrenching to me is when I would walk into an oncology pediatric hospital and have to work with those children, because the outside world has no clue what's happening in an office of a pediatric oncologist.
Wow. So the oncologists are coming to you for prevention.
Primarily.
And what packet are you putting them on?
Well, so we do the whole thing. We do all the work. So these packets are sort of a foundation. So everyone gets these. Every single person gets the foundational pack. Now, sometimes we'll add a few extra things, or like, for example, if you came into me and we did genetic testing and you were high risk for dementia, then we're going to put a couple extra things in here to help prevent dementia. In addition, we'll help you curate a diet that's geared towards preventing dementia, for example. I did my own genetic testing recently, and I found that I personally am extremely high risk for diabetes. So I started really looking at what do I need to do to keep my blood sugars even all day long.
So how could I do that? Now you're in another state and I'm in Tennessee. How could I do this genetic testing?
Yeah, so as long as you have a home in Missouri, Florida, or California, I can see you if you like. And also you can sign up through beingfunctional.com. You can sign up for a meet and greet, and one of our staff members will call and help you out with that.
But you have to be in Missouri?
Florida. You have to have a home in Missouri, Florida, or California.
Okay. Now, if I don't, what do we do?
You have to find a local functional medicine doctor near you. And I will say that in functional medicine, when I started doing functional medicine, it was long before it became a big thing. So you want to find one with at least 5 or 6 years of experience, because it does take a while to sort of get into the craft.
Okay, so you find one that's got 5+ years experience, and you say, do you want that genetic testing? So
yes.
Tell me what that involves. They take some blood and they do what? Why does your average internal medicine doctor you go to not do this?
Because I honestly think they wouldn't know what to do with the results. If you don't know, then you don't know, right? You can't do what you don't know. And it's not that your average internal medicine doctor isn't brilliant and smart, but you can't do what you don't know. And so for me, it was an additional 3 years of training. And then on top of that, I also mastered hormones. So that was a whole nother thing. So it literally has been continuous medical education for me for the past 15 years. When I finished medical school, it was just a matter of reading a few journals, staying up on top of continuing medical education. Super easy. Medicine doesn't change that swiftly. Functional medicine, if you're not staying on top of it, every 6 months, you're going to get outdated. So you really have to be constantly learning all these new things because we're growing. So for example, genetic testing, there was finally a company that I liked that actually tested your genes and also gave you a game plan. So it wasn't like 1,000 pages of here's your genetic testing and you have no idea what to do with it. We actually were able to categorize it into the genes that we are most familiar with, into categories, for example, cognitive function or brain function, insulin resistance, and inflammation, things like that. So you can sort of target what you want to treat. But I digress. What I will tell you is this foundational pack, every single one of my patients gets this to start out with. And I will say probably about 50% of my patients, once we clean up their diet, we do this exercise program and all this kind of stuff, we don't need anything but the foundational pack for many of them. If you have something like a family history of dementia, I would highly recommend you get tested for something called an ApoE. You can do an ApoE blood test. Any doctor can do that. And then that's relatively well known in the community. Chris Hemsworth, the actor, he has an ApoE44, so he has an 80% increased risk of dementia. He found that out while he was doing the Disney show called Limitless. So watch that show, familiarize yourself with it, and then there's stuff you can do about it. You don't have to live in fear. Again, we educate and we empower. That empower and education over fear. And those are the gifts that we've been given. These are my gifts that I've been given from God, and I'm using them on this platform to hopefully open up some eyes and help people realize you don't have to be victim to all these things. I'm 55. When I went through menopause, I gained a lot of weight because now I know in retrospect, because I was genetically predisposed to insulin resistance. And it took me 3 years to lose that weight. But man, I'm not going to be overweight because I know overweight causes all these other problems. So it's in my control.
So if you have someone that's hitting menopause age, right?
Yeah.
Would you have a pack for that?
So that would be still the foundational for women. And if you're postmenopausal, we have a 50 plus for women who need a little extra smart calcium. Most of the calcium supplements out there are crappy. Do not take those, in my opinion. But the one that we have for 50 plus, that is the one that has a little extra smart calcium in it that has other minerals that your bone also needs to grow.
All right. So if you go to myvitamin.com/worldview, and please use that if you want us to get credit, because again, folks, we vet. How many months have we been talking to you, by the way?
Oh, several. I think we met almost a year ago at a conference.
Mm-hmm. And so now we're launching. Okay, you guys see how careful we are? We do our homework. Melissa does her homework. Melissa and her have talked quite a few times. Melissa and I and Dr. Williams have talked quite a few times. Melissa and her have texted multiple times. Melissa's gotten the packet. We really do our homework, right? Because we are not going to lose our credibility. We're not going to have our audience not trust us. We want our audience saying, if Brannon and Melissa are promoting this, that's because they did a lot of work and a lot of research and a lot of conversations, and they know this is legit. And that's also why you see us working with a lot of people that are also MDs, but have like functional medicine with it, because again, she's been enlightened to things that are not being taught in the medical school. So with that, go to myvitamin.com/worldview. Now, when you do that, folks, and you go to the shop, and you can see the women's daily, the men's daily, the women's daily 50 plus. Now the teens and the college daily, the immune health, the daily foundational plus immune, that's the one you keep talking about, right? The daily foundational that everybody should be doing.
Yes.
Okay. You keep going through, you got brain health, gut support, calm and restore. That's, I guess, one Melissa's on. Liver detox, weight support, hair, skin, and nails. Okay. Tell me if you started out with the foundational, how does the person know, okay, after I got the foundational, now I need to do what? Add the men's daily to it? Tell me about that.
So if you're a man and you want just some good, really good foundational daily vitamins, all you need is the daily foundational for men. That's it. If you're a man who has a family history of dementia, I would highly recommend you get the men's daily foundational and add the brain pack to it.
Okay, so there you go. So you would grab the men's daily, and then you would come down here and you would add the brain health to it.
Yes.
That's if you had a family history of like dementia and Parkinson's and Alzheimer's.
Yes, yes.
Okay. Give me another example of a combo that someone should, so everybody starts with the foundational pack, and then based on whatever they're dealing with, they go to additional. So let's say we have a woman dealing with, help me out. We said the word a while ago.
Well, another comment.
What, Logan? Yeah, menopause. Thank you. Just say if a woman dealing with menopause. So you start with the foundation pack, and then which one would you add to it?
Actually, for women dealing with menopause, my favorite one is actually the Common Restore, and we already added the foundational to that one. So we will have a choice you'll have a choice of just getting them combined or separate. So for the women going through menopause, the Common Restore, or already gone through menopause, the Common Restore is a really, really good one.
Now, where's that one?
That one is on the Common Restore right there. In the
the Common Restore is the one. Okay, so Melissa's grabbing that one. Okay.
Yes.
Okay,
Yep.
Common Restore. Okay, there you go.
Yep.
All right. Teens in college. Tell me about that.
One of the most common things we see in college are kids that all of a sudden leave home and they're eating crap all day, and then they're drinking a lot of beer for some reason. It's a very common pattern that we see. And what we also see is an incredible increase in stress, lack of sleep, and just all sorts of these bad lifestyle habits, right? And you can get away with it because you're a kid, but it does catch up to you, and it does affect your performance and your mental function. So a lot of our moms are like, hey, what can I give my kids? So we came up with this a multivitamin, especially for kids, vitamin D3, especially for kids, boosting up their immune system, but not too high of a dose. Magnesium to help them sleep and calm down at nighttime. So things like that. Now we also added we combined the immune and the foundational also, because a lot of our patients were combining those together, especially during the winter months when we saw a lot of viruses. So there's a foundational and immune pack combo that a lot of our patients take in the winter months, for example. And honestly, I just got off the phone with a marketing specialist who said, my husband and I were talking, we haven't been sick for a year and a half. Huh. And that coincided with when they started taking their supplements. We hear this all the time. That was just something I just happened to hear today. So that daily foundational plus immune, great thing to give your college kids. These college kids come home after finals week and they sleep for 3 days and they're sick. And there's reasons behind all that. But these supplements, in addition to really what we also found in a lot of our kiddos is when they started taking supplements, they also started paying a little extra attention to self-care, because doing one self-care thing we know has been shown to then add another and then another. So then you start stacking all these self-care things. And if you're going through the trouble of taking supplements, then maybe you start working out on a more regular basis, or maybe you start sleeping better because you're taking that magnesium that helps you sleep, things like that.
Wow. Now let's talk real quick before we wrap about, say, guys and prostate, right? Prostate. I don't know if you've read the book, Invasion of the Prostate Snatchers, and how you feel about that. But it seemed, I can tell by your facial expressions. You haven't read that one, okay. But it seems like every time we turn around, someone's going in to have their prostate taken out. And I've read some up on this, and it seems like a lot of this is maybe, again, I'm not giving medical advice, I'm not a doctor, but my opinion is, it seems like I'm a little concerned, just like they go to the pad real quick. Hey, well, here's a prescription. Let's get that prostate out. I'm like, obviously guys are concerned about that too. I think maybe women are too for the man in their life. So talk to me about things like that.
I had the same exact thought you did yesterday when I was talking to one of my men patients. And I was just thinking to myself, And in particular, he made the comment when he eats more sugar, he has to get up at night more. And so that's one of his biggest motivators, to not eat a lot of sugar. Now, in his case, I also had the benefit of looking at his labs, and there's a form of testosterone metabolite that actually increases prostate size and this is the kind of stuff that functional medicine doctors learn, right? This is the type of stuff that we don't necessarily learn in medical school, and especially we don't learn how we can manipulate it earlier on. And I just thought to myself, wonder if I should put him on a supplement that will help divert some of the testosterone metabolites into one that does not cause the prostate to get bigger. So, and that's the problem, is benign prostatic hypertrophy, where the prostate gets huge, and then now you're waking up every hour or 2 hours to go pee as a guy. That's no fun. And plus it disrupts your sleep, which is a big pillar of health issue now, because now lack of good sleep causes all sorts of other things. But start early. And so this is what we counsel our patients on as well. But you're 100% right. It's almost like you're bound to get it if you live long enough, right? But you can take care of it, and you can help decrease your risk.
Is there anything in the current packs now, or are you going to have to develop a new pack for that? There's
nothing in the current packs right now, but that is something that we can maybe focus on, and we can create a one-time, like a bottle. I have a couple supplements that I really like that help with the prostate, and maybe we can have a prostate day, prostate 15-minute segment where we can talk about that, and men can buy just that one supplement. And it can be if they're worried about it, or if they're the ones getting up at night to go pee. And also, I would love to hear how the supplements are working for people when we have that opportunity.
Absolutely. We'll do that. We can even open phone lines to take questions. And I keep saying in conclusion, but you keep bringing me to a point of I have to ask more questions. What about, I see all these, the shot nurse, go get the shot nurse, and the shot nurse is going to give you the flu vaccine, which no, and all this other stuff. But she's also going to give you your testosterone shot. And I know I don't do that. I know guys that run there and get their testosterone shot. They think that's going to cure all their problems, their weight gain, their being lethargic, and that's going to pump up their sex drive and all this other garbage. I'm like, sorry, I'm not doing that. But I guess there are problems for some people in that area. What is the men's pack going to help with that?
Men's pack. So these are just purely foundational. And when I say foundational, what I'm talking about is at the cellular level, what your cells need to work optimally, to make the most amount of mitochondria that you can make, to help with a little liver detox and things like that. Now, in terms of for example, the prostate or the testosterone, I'll tell you what, one of the biggest things you can do is not put your cell phone in your pocket. That's number one, because that's an EMF topic, but don't put your cell phone in your pocket. We'll leave it at that for right now. But the other thing is, we can actually, through the 5 pillars of health, through reducing stress, your testosterone is made out of cholesterol. Okay. And the cholesterol has to get into these cells, and actually into the mitochondria of the cell, in order to start the processes of turning cholesterol into testosterone. So that we have so many different ways that we can affect testosterone production. So that's what we try to do, is we try to maximize that before we jump on a bandwagon of giving people testosterone. I don't have a problem with giving people testosterone, but not until we've maximized everything else, because all that other stuff will make the little bit that we give work better anyway.
And when you go to the store to buy your vitamins, you're basically buying junk at the store. Is that right?
What really impressed me were a couple things in my early medical practice. And number one is, when I was looking at x-rays, and this happened 2 times, we actually saw undigested supplements in the stool, in the colon part, which is the stool, which once you get to the colon, you're not going to absorb a nutrient. And that was because the supplements were so hard. Like literally, you could literally bang your table on them. Ours are not like that. Ours are like in powder form. They're going to be very highly absorbed.
Oh yeah, I can see through the capsule, and it's just a powder in there.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. The second thing is, there was a study done in New York by the Attorney General there, who looked at 5 different stores, and they took just supplements off the shelf, and only 20% of what was promised was actually in the supplements. The second thing is that only There was a lot of other things. I'm talking plant parts and fillers and all this other. So I have no idea what my patients are getting. So like I said earlier, and this is very powerful to my patients and why they take these supplements. If this doesn't work, it's not because these aren't good. It's because there's something else we're missing. So I have to know that, like that's actual medical information for me, because if this didn't work, I have to do something else.
And, okay. So these are fresh, right? I mean, these are made, how fresh are these?
These are made the day you order them. That's how fresh they are. And they don't sit on a shelf. So they do have an expiration. You have to use your monthly pack within 2 months. Not because all of a sudden they go bad, but when you look at our ingredients, our raw ingredients, if you kept a pack for like 6 months, these will actually change in color.
Really?
Because they're raw and they're pure.
Well, that's a huge deal. All right. So we're going to be visiting with you more often. And I think I told you the other day that we have started a new channel this week. If you go to worldviewtube.com, worldviewtube.com, people will see it right there. We have a brand new channel, Home and Health. We're putting in some of Melissa's house-to-house programs. And then in a lot of interviews with people like Dr. Basma here, we are playing those in there. We're replaying those because these are just flat out educational and informative. And we have a huge library of great interviews like this. And we're going to be adding to it because you know what? You guys have asked for it. This is why our Bella Grace, our Numi, our Gatatana, these things do so well because there's science behind it. It's nutrition. It's getting to the cellular level. We've got MDs and functional medicine people behind it with us. This is huge. Our audience is gobbling up this kind of programming and asking for more. So clearly, and I don't know if it's just the age, me being 56 on the 26th of April. I don't know if it's the age group I'm now in. I don't know if it's the age of my audience, which my prime audience is generally women. 50 to 65 is my biggest demographic. Women, 50 to 65. Women love my programming, Logan, 50 to 65 years old. And so I don't know if it's that's because I'm a nice, sensitive, kind guy, Logan. I don't know if, I just mess with Logan. I don't know if it's the age and the demographic, but my audience loves this kind of programming. That's all I can tell you. And maybe it's post-COVID, who knows, right?
Well, and I'm grateful to have a platform to share some truths with you. So let's keep it going. Let's roll up our sleeves and really help empower everyone.
Absolutely.
And I'm very serious about that.
Absolutely. And we're going to be doing more of these visits. So thank you for that. Thank you.
My pleasure. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Dr. Williams, checking in, folks. And go there, okay? Go there to myvitamins.com. Use the code Worldview, if you would. Vitamin, don't put an S on it, Logan's telling you in my ear. Don't put an S on the end. My vitamin. Don't put an S on that, folks. myvitamin.com/worldview. All right, folks, that's our broadcast for tonight. I hope you appreciate all we do here. I mean, where are you going to get programming like this? I have to ask that frequently. Where are you going to get it? This is a unique network, and you guys know it. And we are unique and different by design. Right, Dolly? Where'd you go, Dolly? You want to come say hi to everybody? Come say goodnight. Come say goodnight, Gracie. Come on up here. You haven't made an appearance the whole show. There you go. Yes, I love you too. Oh, yes. Have you've been with Cayman, I bet. She loves Cayman. She's smiling all day long. All right. We all are smiling with Cayman around, aren't we? We love having our granddaughter around. Hey, again, thanks for watching. We do need your support. Please go right now, will you? WorldviewFoundation.com. WorldviewFoundation.com. Go there right now. Support our work to keep it going, right? Till next time, and God save America. Take care. Join me now is Bashima Williams. Let's talk again cancer and prostate. That's all in the news due to Joe Biden. And we had a big conversation the other night with Dr. Lana. Some people said that blew them away. They really thanked us about that for that. But I want to talk with MD and nutritionist, functional medicine, Dr. Bashima Williams. Dr. Bashima, welcome back. Thanks for being with us.
It's always a pleasure to be here. Thank you so much for having me.
You too for being here. Thank you. All right. So Joe Biden, we've read all about that. We've talked about that with Dr. Lana and others. What is your take on this?
So my take, first of all, the recommendations for prostate screening. Number one, I just give my condolences to the Bidens and their family. And also, I just want to say that metastatic bone disease, in 30 years of seeing patients, metastatic bone disease, no matter where the cancer originated, is one of the most painful things that my patients report. So he has got to be in so much pain, and I wonder how much that contributed to his falls and things like that. I also wonder if the lesions are anywhere else. That would be pure speculation, but lesions commonly with prostate cancer go to the brain. And so we know that these didn't just happen overnight. This has been brewing for a long time, as prostate cancer in older men it's kind of a slowing cancer over time. And so this has been going on for a long time. The symptoms are what usually bring men to our office. The symptoms primarily include increase in frequency of urination, but there's a hesitancy to pee, so the flow changes. And there's also that time standing in front of a toilet before the flow actually comes out. And that is because the prostate is usually, if you're at that point, the prostate is usually pretty swollen. So if this is your urethra, which goes right through the prostate, so the top of the urethra is attached to the bladder and then it comes out so you can pee. And if the prostate is swollen or enlarged, then it squeezes on that urethra. So it squeezes it so that urine flow is affected, as well as in a lot of cases, ejaculation. Anything that comes out of that tube will be affected.
Okay, so the guys show up to you after they're starting to have these symptoms of having a hard time urinating. Now, you're a MD and a functional medicine doctor. Why are they coming to you and not going to a urologist?
I'm a primary care, family medicine.
So you do it all?
I'll tell you what, they always come to because they don't know what the problem is. So they wouldn't know to go to a urologist.
Okay.
And so they come to us first, and in a lot of cases, we can treat them. In a lot of cases, we can do a digital rectal exam. When I do a digital rectal exam, what I'm feeling for is the prostate, which feels like and by the way, so many men are like, I'm glad it's you doing a rectal exam instead of the guys with the really big fingers. But literally, it's just one little finger up into the rectum, not a big deal. We glove up, we gel up. It's more embarrassing than it is painful. But what we're looking for is we're feeling the prostate, and it should feel like the base of your thumb, nice and smooth, and that same texture. If it's really hard, like a rock, that's a red flag. If it's enlarged, big, or if one side is really big and the other side of the prostate is nice and small, that's a problem. So we're looking for asymmetry. We're looking for how big the prostate is. We're looking for the texture of the prostate. And we're also looking for nodules. So sometimes you can have what a nodule feels like is a little marble underneath where we're feeling. It's almost like if you took a cloth and put a marble underneath it and just felt for that marble. That's what you would feel if you're looking for a nodule in the prostate. But the problem, of course, is if it's a small nodule, you're not going to feel it, or if it's a nodule on the bottom part of the prostate and your finger is up here, you're not going to feel that tiny little nodule. So they always say with the United States Preventative Task Force, the best results, if you're doing traditional medicine, which this is what I'm recommending, what I'm talking about, not necessarily recommending it for everyone, because everyone needs to make a personal decision. But if you're between the ages of 55 and 69, if you get prostate cancer, it tends to be a little more aggressive and you want to know about it. And in those age groups, you want a digital rectal exam and a blood test called a PSA. And with the PSA, it's interesting because the PSA number, anything below a 4, is considered normal. But what you also have to look at is the velocity of change of your PSA. In other words, if your PSA was a 1 last year and a 3 this year, that velocity of change is too rapid. So we get a little more concerned with that. Also, we have amazing technology now compared to, when I started seeing patients 30 years ago with MRI scans and things like that we didn't have back then. So that would avoid potentially a unnecessary biopsy, which is, of course, what we're talking about. That's, over-treatment and over-diagnosis is what we're talking about when we're trying to differentiate between should Biden have had PSAs or not, and a digital rectal exam or not, in terms of maybe potentially having diagnosed it 5 or 6 years ago. And then you have to determine, well, what kind of treatment would you have had? And would you have wanted treatment? Would he have even run for president? So, all those questions are up in the air.
Okay, so let's say a patient comes in and there's concerns. I'm not prone to doing the prostate exam. I haven't had one done. I'm not prone to doing. I just don't go to the doctor. I've probably been to the doctor in 15 years or more, but that's just me. I also am not prone to doing colonoscopy. I did that in my early 20s. That turned out to be a real, pain in the rear end, to be honest with you. Pardon the pun. But I'm not doing that again either. I pretty much have this deal with God that if he wants me around, then I'm going to stay. It's time to go. We're going to go. I'm just not doing all this extra stuff. I don't have the time for all the emotion and drama and everything else. Although the drama might be quite big if I end up getting cancer and it was, so maybe I'll end up with drama. I don't know, but I just don't have time for it. It's just my personality. Let's just be honest. I don't like to fly. I like to be in control. So I bought 2 motor coaches. I travel around the country like that when I go. I walk into a doctor's office. I have no control over the situation. My schedule's at their beck and call. I'm sitting around a bunch of people that are sick. I didn't come in there because I'm sick, but I sure leave sick. I went to a doctor once with my wife in Texas because she had a piece of luggage fall out of the overhang, hit her in the eye, and it was a horrific thing. We had to get her to a doctor in Texas where we landed, and we both ended up getting so violently sick we had to stop our travels and stay for a few days. We weren't even there because we were sick. We were there because she had an injury. So every time I go to the doctor, I come out of there with something like, the bubonic plague. So if they would treat me where I got, hey, come here, your appointment's at 2:30 and we'll see you at 2:30. No, but it ends up, I'm 2:30, still 4 o'clock. I'm sitting there with all these people hacking up a lung. But with all that being said,
you need to change doctors. We would be happy to take care of you. If you want to just go up to we have a concept practice. People don't wait there. And
you have a concierge? You have a concierge?
Concierge practice. It's called Offer Medical Wellness. It's in O'Fallon, Missouri.
Oh, I've been to O'Fallon, Missouri.
Yeah, people don't wait. You just walk in. It's whatever appointment time you have. We are not overbooked, and it is not a McDonald's practice.
Well, you must have a lot of very happy patients then.
We have a lot of very happy. You should see our reviews. Literally within a year of being open, we had smashing reviews, over 100 reviews. So yeah, people like the concierge. It's, what, we're relatively cheap in our community. We figured $100 a month was enough. And so that's what we do it for. And we are extremely busy, and my husband is extremely brilliant. And he is always on time. Well, there's always that one day where you have somebody walk in and they're having chest pain, then you're going to be behind. But, everyone understands that. But the day to day, we're hardly ever behind.
Wow.
And we like it. We empathize with you guys. But yeah, that's an aside.
Wow. Well, that's a great business model. I wish we had that in my town. So for a guy like me who's like, okay, I don't want to go through all that rigmarole, but I want to make sure I'm trying to deal with my prostate health. Is there anything you recommend for guys like me?
Yeah, if we just look at the risk factors for prostate cancer, the biggest risk factor is family history. So having a family history, and part of that plays into the genetics and BRCA testing and things like that. So if you have a family history of someone who has had prostate cancer, you're at higher risk. That should just be a little red flag that goes up. Maybe you want to be treated a little more aggressively than somebody who doesn't. And by the way, being treated aggressively is just knowledge. It's just doing the blood work and doing that stuff. But what we want to avoid is those unnecessary, the blood work and digital rectal exam, in my estimation, in terms of just being a family medicine doctor. Generally not a big deal and should be part of everyone's screening, in my opinion, but it's the next step that where you need to use common sense. And the next step is the potential unnecessary biopsies. It's the potential unnecessary surgeries leading to potential, impotence, erectile dysfunction, loss of testosterone, loss of libido, loss of vitality, loss of muscle mass, so many things because of some potentially unnecessary treatment. That the next step after the screening is where you want somebody who's smart and can use common sense medicine approach. So having family history, of course, age, as you get older, prostate is the second most common cause of cancer in men. So as you get older, what they say is if you live long enough, you're going to get prostate cancer is something that we say in medicine. And so the good thing about that though is that if you live long enough, it's really slow growing, which makes me a little worried about, of course, the Joe Biden thing too. It's like, how long has that been there? And as a United States president, do we make recommendations where we are checking for the second most common cause of cancer in men in a sitting United States president position? I mean, that's kind of a big deal, in my opinion.
Yeah.
That has ramifications of what we potentially saw in terms of cognitive decline, in terms of balance issues, falls, and an inability to make decisions on his own. And this is all just what I viewed just myself. It's not, I have no medical connections with any of the records that Joe Biden has, obviously, or anyone else. But what I'm saying is if you have that much responsibility, you should be being screened, in my opinion, for something that's this common.
Yeah, absolutely.
But one of the biggest things, what I like to do, again, I always approach medicine with a positive attitude in terms of what can you control. You can't control your age because you're either alive or dead, and you can't control your family history because that was chosen for you, but you can control, for example, your diet. We know that a diet that's high in saturated fat and in red meat has a higher potential for developing prostate cancer, okay? So carnivore diets, things like that. But a diet that has propensity towards plant-based nutrition and phytonutrients and healthy oils is what we really push for, especially in our men. We actually put a phytonutrient capsule. Phytonutrients are the nutrients that are in plants. We actually put a phytonutrient capsule in the men's daily pack of our vitamins, which is great. So with myvitamin.com, the daily supplement packs, for men, we actually put a little phytonutrient capsule in that is specifically for this, because we do worry that men don't eat enough vegetables and fruit. And I know a lot of wives out there are probably saying, yeah, that's true. But the other thing I tell every single one of my male patients to do is to take a shot of pomegranate juice every day. If you look at pomegranate juice and all the different pathways from a functional medicine perspective of what it does to so many good, healthy pathways in your liver, you want to, and specifically the ones that affect the prostate, you specifically want to drink pomegranate juice every day. You want pure pomegranate juice, no sugar added, and you don't want a 32-ounce glass of it. You just want a shot of it because that's too much sugar. 32 ounces is too much sugar. So this is where a lot can be harmful. And then also some green tea. Green tea is really good for the prostate. But ultimately, when we do blood work, Brannon, we actually don't just do a PSA. We also look at the breakdown of the testosterone. And there's a breakdown of testosterone called dihydrotestosterone. And when that is high in men, that can cause prostate cancer, okay? That is an enzyme we can control with supplements like saw pimento and stinging nettles and green tea extract and things like that. We actually have a capsule that's coming up soon that has all those things in it.
Really?
Yeah, we do. So, and it's a common thing that functional medicine doctors do. It's no secret. It's a very common thing that we do. And so, for our men that come in with that hesitancy of urination and things like that, our go-to is nutrition. Our go-to is not prescription medications. I haven't written for Flomax or anything like that in so long because what we do naturally actually is effective. And whatever you do to the prostate, you definitely can improve overall everything. It's good for everything. So having the phytonutrient capsule in that men's pack is not just good for the prostate, it's good for everywhere where phytonutrients are needed to promote an anti-inflammatory lifestyle. But I will tell you this, with prostate, the number one thing we see is not prostate cancer, it's that benign prostatic hypertrophy, the prostate getting bigger and bigger and bigger. Okay. And that is where that DHT hormone is just happens to be high in that person because that enzyme that converts androstenedione, which is a precursor to testosterone, into DHT, that enzyme just works better in some guys. And you don't want it to necessarily work better. You want it to be a little bit slower so you can maintain more of your testosterone levels. So there's a lot that we can do, and we're just barely touching the surface on this talk. But what I want, the take-home message is I want people to be empowered. Eating an anti-inflammatory diet is never more important than, being afraid of getting checked or not wanting to get checked or deciding that you don't want to get checked is great because, we don't want that overdiagnosis and all the overtreatments and all these horrible things that happen after the diagnosis. What we want to remind people is that you're in control of a lot of it. And I have seen it in my own practice where we have made some huge differences in people's lives.
So pomegranate, I need to be drinking pomegranate juice.
Yes, one shot every day.
One shot every day.
Every day. And if you eat a lot of red meat, you want to decrease red meat and you want to increase anything colorful. That'll really help. The other
increase anything colorful?
Any colorful fruits and vegetables. So
okay,
yeah.
so like I eat a lot of what's called vegetable pie. I eat a lot of vegetable pie, which is tomatoes, cucumbers. I don't know what else she's putting in there, but she makes me a vegetable pie several times a week.
Yeah, that's awesome. As long as it's not like on a breaded.
No, I'm gluten-free, so no.
Oh, good. Okay, but you're gluten-free now. That's right.
Yeah, but cheese.
Yeah, you want to watch the cheese. You don't want cheese, especially if you do it a lot, and depending on the type of cheese, can be pro-inflammatory.
Okay.
Because dairy fat is saturated fat. That's the kind of fat that makes prostate cancer.
See, like, oh, wow. See, like, I don't drink milk. I don't drink milk.
Good. Mm-hmm.
But I do cheese. But Dr. Lana, she's like very anti-milk. Are you anti-milk?
I am, I'm not anti anything because I want to be sensitive to everyone's needs because there are some people that have to have it. But what we do is the healthier your gut is, and so we really focus on gut health, the healthier your ability to tolerate certain things are. For example, with dairy in particular, if your gut lining is nice and thick and tall, so a lot of people who have like celiac disease, the gut lining, instead of being these finger-like projections, instead of looking like shag carpet, it looks like Berber. Mm-hmm. Well, the problem is on the tips of the shag carpet inside of your gut is where the enzyme that helps break down lactose is from. And so if you don't have a healthy gut, you are not going to tolerate dairy. So what we try to do is we try to heal the gut and then re-challenge with dairy because there are some people that really want it. But no matter what, across the board, we do recommend that you decrease your intake of dairy. And we also have, I've been doing this for so long and some patients have really challenged me. They think I'm crazy by telling them not to eat dairy or cheese. Cheese is a big one. And so we compromise with something called the hard cheeses. Hard cheeses have a lot of the lactose that's in it that a lot of people can't tolerate. It's already been digested by the bacteria with the cheese living, being aged over a year. So the hard cheeses, and also they're usually more pungent and more flavorful. So what we do is you don't need to use as much hard. Now, if you use mozzarella, you can use a ton of it. and it's very bland in its flavor, and it's full of, there's a lot of lactose in it, so it's a lot more intolerable. So there's those things that we advise in our, again, in our courses that we have, yourthrivecode.com. We talk about all sorts of fun nutritional things like this. So definitely a lot to be had there, but really the most important take home is drink your pomegranate juice. And when you do so, remind you, because that's something easy, but while you're doing it every day, remember that you are in charge of what you put into your body and what you don't put into your body. So tobacco use, for example, alcohol use, high sugar diet, high saturated fat diet, all prostate cancer. And the opposite of that, eating an anti-inflammatory diet, eating more fruits and vegetables and some fish and maybe a little bit of meat. Just don't make it the majority of what your calories every day. But I also want to point out one more thing is we have this amazing omega-3 supplement. Omega-3 is, and I don't know if you can see that very well on your screen because of the light, but anyway, it's called the omega-3 essentials. And omega-3 is your golden opportunity, something so easy to do, but it is your golden opportunity to significantly increase anti-inflammatory systemically in your body. And I want to say that again. It's the opposite of what saturated fat does. It helps reduce inflammation. And that, if anyone is not taking an omega-3, I would say that is one of the most critical supplements. I would also say I can't even think of one single patient of mine who is not taking it. So it's in every single one of our packs. And it's in higher doses in certain things, like if we want to really maximize brain function, in our brain function packs, there's an extra omega-3 in it. So definitely very, very important if you're looking at natural ways to not only reduce your risk of prostate cancer, but all cancers across the board.
And I want to reiterate, if you want to get started with your daily, the men's daily and the women's daily, these are what you need to use, right?
That's right. Those are amazing. And those have the fish oil in them already. And the other thing with the fish oil is our fish oil actually currently right this moment, and we do have a backup plan, so we're good because we have so many orders every week that we actually have to be careful with having extra stock. But we are currently running really, really low on omega-3 because we just lost a whole shipment because it wasn't good enough. So if the raw material is not good enough, we will send it back. And 40% of what we use gets sent back. And fish oil is a big one because
what do you do? You test it when it arrives?
100%. We do 3 different tests on 3 different random samples. And then we triple distill it and clean it out. But if it's not good enough to even start with, we're not going to accept it. And so we do have a little shortage right now. I know we're catching up with the fish oil, but that is something you want to really be careful with because fish oil is something called a polyunsaturated fat that is essential for your body, meaning your body cannot produce this type of fat. So it's an essential fat. And it is also, when they're polyunsaturated oils, they are extremely sensitive to heat and time. So if something's just sitting around for months, it's going to be rancid. That oil is not going to be clean and pure and as good as these. That's why our packs are not made until the order goes through. So the
pack is not made until the order goes through. And you're saying that if you order the men's daily or the women's daily, the omega-3 is already in there, these?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
And again, these packs are not made till they go through. And you can get a subscription at myvitamin.com/worldview, myvitamin.com/worldview. Now, something I've also started
can I just say one more thing really quick? With myvitamin.com/worldview, we've had a couple orders that we know are from your people. Mm-hmm. And we want to be sure that you get the credit. Now we're catching them, but we can't catch 100% of them. And some people are forgetting to go to the Worldview site. So if you want to support Brannon Howse, and we fully want to support you, okay? Because we believe in your mission. We truly believe in what you're doing. We love the sound of reason and common sense out there. If you do go to myvitamin.com, be sure to do the /Worldview. And when you check out, you can even put Worldview in the code, just some way that we know that we can capture, because we do, many podcasts every month, and we just want to make sure that you're getting all the credit that you deserve. And
well, thank you.
And
Appreciate that. So one other thing we've added this week to my, I don't do alcohol. I hate alcohol. I hate the taste of alcohol. Also, remember that whole thing, we go back to control? No, I have to be in control. So alcohol, I'm not a guy that's prone to alcohol because I don't like the taste, number one. I also have seen what it's done to people's lives, number two. And number three, I'm not prone to ever drinking alcohol to intoxication because then you have no control. And my whole thing is about being in charge, right? So, which is partly why I run my own organization and everything. But I don't do any alcohol, period. Number two, I don't do tobacco. I don't smoke. I don't smoke cigars. I don't smoke a pipe. I don't chew tobacco. I don't do any of that. Sugar, I really don't do a lot of that. I don't drink sodas. I'll occasionally have a Sprite, occasionally, but I'm not like, I don't drink
sugar tea?
No. Occasionally I'll have a sweet tea if I'm out to dinner somewhere, but it's very, very rare because I know it's loaded with sugar, so I don't usually do that either. I will have a little dark chocolate, which I know is supposed to be really good for you every now and then. But I'm not a big sweet candy guy. I'm not. But I did start this week. Melissa started me on a yogurt, a high probiotic yogurt, and she mixes it in a bowl, which I've never done before till now. She gives me a clear bowl of yogurt, the vanilla, I guess, the white yogurt, and then she pours in a bunch of fresh blueberries and mixes it up and hands it to me. And I tell you what, I've been doing that for about a week. I'm loving that. I'm like, wow, this is pretty amazing. And Dolly gets a scoop of that yellow yogurt too, or that white vanilla yogurt too, along with her pumpkin. So she's on pumpkin, she's on Gatatana, she's on the probiotics of the high-end probiotic yogurt as well. Are we good on these things?
You're good. You can do better. So it depends on what kind of yogurt it is. Okay. So, and also how much protein it has in it and how much sugar it has in it. So I'm
going to take a screenshot of the container and text it to you.
Yeah, you want to just be mindful of those things because that's actually really important. And then number two, the other thing I recommend my patients do if they love their yogurt is put a scoop of really good, healthy protein powder in it, because most of the time, most yogurts do not have enough protein, and if they and usually a lot of sugar. But you want to up your protein, because what we find in our practice is that most men and women are not getting enough protein in their diet every day. And what we recommend for men who are like you, because I know you well enough to be able to make this recommendation, this is not a recommendation for everyone, but for men like you would need about 0.8 grams of protein per pound. So if you weighed 100 pounds, that would be 80 grams of protein. If you weigh 200 pounds, that would be 160 grams of protein. So what we do is we have to start sneaking in protein here and there, but you can do a scoop of protein that morning. Don't do it the night before. And if you really, really want to be good, you're going to take these really, really good probiotics that we also have in our supplement store, but not available to everyone yet because we don't have enough. We don't have enough supply yet, but you actually open one up in the yogurt the night before, mix it up in there, and that yogurt, that bacteria literally eats away some of that sugar that's in your yogurt. Plus, it replicates itself, so you're going to get more bang for your buck. Plus, we know that when you have a lot of probiotics in your food, that the food is actually what helps seed the microbiome. So it has a bigger impact. So all those things, there's no way you can have that much. So we really do recommend that opening up that probiotic the night before.
And where is this? I mean, you said everybody can't order it. Is it not on the website?
It's not on the website yet, I'm afraid. We are not going to compromise supply. So that's the problem, is we're waiting until we get enough, because we know that once we put it on our website, just my patients alone, So
you'll let us know when it's in?
I will let you know when my favorite probiotic is in, yes.
Okay, and so we break it open and put it over the yogurt at night. Put it in the refrigerator.
And put 1 teaspoon or 2, if you want, 1 or 2 teaspoons, depending on how much yogurt you have, of chia seeds in it. So they swell up overnight, okay? And then mix it all up. And then the next day, put a little scoop of protein powder in it, mix it up, and then you can put the blueberries on top. But that way I will be happy, because now I know you're getting healthy fat. The chia seeds are omega-3 fats, just like the...
What are those? I've never heard of those. What are those?
chia seeds.
Yeah.
They're just tiny little seeds that they're amazing. They're they're tiny little black seeds. They look like poppy seeds, but yeah, they're
So would my wife, when she makes poppy seed chicken, is that the black thing I'm seeing on top?
yeah, but those are not. That is not chia. That is not chia seeds. Those are poppy seeds, but they look similar too. They're two different things, but they look similar.
And where do I get those?
Anywhere, any grocery store, anywhere.
Okay.
Yeah, flaxseed, chia seed, hemp seed, those are all the 3 natural high omega-3 foods that people should be eating every day in their diet. So my patients get a recommendation of having one of those 3 seeds in their diet on a regular basis rotationally.
And then I need to order the omega-3. So I go in there to order the omega-3 bottle, take one of those every day.
Well, you have the Meds pack, so you should be good.
Oh, I have it right here already. Yeah, okay.
You're
okay.
good. Yeah.
And then add my pomegranate to it.
Add add pomegranate to it.
To drink that every day.
Yeah. So now you take your yogurt, say it has 10 grams of protein, you add 15 more grams, now you're at 25. And if you have to get to 100 grams of protein a day, you've just had 25 for breakfast, which is great. Of course, we have to juxtapose that with how much sugar is in the yogurt, make sure it's not too high. And then also we're creating an anti-inflammatory, we're increasing anti-inflammatory by increasing the omega-3 in the yogurt, and also the blueberries are antioxidant. So yeah, all sorts of good things.
And Melissa's got me walking 2 miles a day.
That's awesome. That's exactly what you want to be doing. So exercise, stop smoking, don't drink a lot of alcohol, don't eat a lot of sugar. Eat an anti-inflammatory diet. Of course, you didn't mention anything about steaks, but don't eat too many steaks or red meat.
I do a steak maybe once every, what do you say, Logan? Once every 2 weeks?
Oh, that's good.
Once every 10 days, something like that.
Carnivore people, there's carnivore diets that's also why I don't believe in any diets at all. We don't promote any diets. We promote eating we promote eating in an anti-inflammatory way, which promotes.
If folks have any questions, is there a contact button on the website as well?
Yeah, there sure is. They know how to use it. Your people know how to use it, because we get those calls every week. Every week I'm on your show, I will tell you, we get about 3 or 4 calls from your people. It's kind of nice.
Excellent.
They've got great questions.
And we need to have you come back to our Worldview conference October 3rd and 4th here in Memphis, outside of Memphis, because you're only like 5 hours away, right?
Yeah, that's it.
Well, if you wouldn't mind putting October 3rd and 4th on your calendar, it's a Friday night and Saturday, and have a booth like you did last year with Tina, that'd be great.
Oh, that would be fun. That would be so fun. And it's in Memphis?
Yeah, Collierville, just outside of Memphis. Yep. Next to Germantown. Have you ever been here?
Memphis, yes. I've driven through Memphis. I've not stayed. I have stayed there, actually. There's some great concerts. We go to a lot of Christian concerts, and we will drive to Memphis.
Where have you been in Memphis? Where?
Right there on, I think it's called Beale Street.
Oh, yes. Yeah.
That's where our hotels are, and good food.
So you probably stayed at like the Peabody.
Yes, that's right.
That's where you want to stay. You want to be careful to stay in the right part of town, or you'll be in trouble like any major city. But that's Peabody's great. Have you seen the ducks come on and off the elevator in the red carpet?
Yes, I did. Oh my gosh, I didn't remember that was the hotel that it was at, but I do remember a hotel where we saw ducks walking around, and I'm like, oh my gosh.
They come off the elevator, they're upstairs, they come down on the red carpet, and the poor duck master, he used to have his ducks trained, and they would do this day in and day out for years. And then PETA or someone had a fit. And so they now have to rotate the ducks out every few months. And the poor guy now is constantly having to train the ducks to come down the elevator, walk on the red carpet, jump in the fountain in the morning. And at night, about 5 o'clock, they come out of the fountain onto the red carpet, into the elevator, back upstairs. And that poor duck master has his work cut out now, because he's having to train a whole new group of Daffy Ducks every few months. They used to just be habit. They knew what they were doing. But good old PETA and other people, I guess, got involved, and this is what's going on. But it draws a crowd. You have a very difficult time getting around to see sometimes the ducks coming down the red carpet or up the red carpet, because there's so many people there at that hour.
Yep, exactly. Yes, I remember that. And it must have been late. It must have been when they were going in, because that's when we got there.
Yeah, it would have been about 5 o'clock or so. Yeah, that's the Peabody. We love the Peabody. Amazing food, too. Amazing service. We go there for special events. By the way, they filmed the opening of The Firm with Tom Cruise, The Firm, they filmed up on the roof of the Peabody. That's the opening scene.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Oh yeah,
That's
that whole movie was filmed here in Memphis.
Oh, wow. I didn't realize
Oh,
that.
yeah.
Great
The
movie.
Firm. Have you ever seen it? The Firm with Tom Cruise?
Yes. Oh, yes.
Yeah, when we watch it, we're like, oh, we know where that is. Yep, we know where that is. We actually have a restaurant Melissa and I frequent, and one of the scenes is there. Gene Hackman and Tom Cruise are having lunch. They're having lunch, and there's white woodwork and mirrors around them. That Melissa and I sit right there and eat. And I've sat in both Hackman's chair and Tom Cruise's chair several times. They have a gold plaque on the back. Each, so Melissa and I both have sat where they sat having dinner, and it's such a routine thing now that nobody even knows. No one even seems to know. A lot of people don't even know. They have no idea that when they come in what's there, and it's kind of funny because I'll walk by and say, "Hey, you're sitting in the Tom Cruise chair," and they're like, "What? What?" Like they have no clue. I'm like, "Yeah, Tom Cruise sat in that chair." They're like, "What are you talking about? Look at the plaque on the back of your chair." They're oblivious. People don't seem to even know what was there, but I do because I like movies and history and stuff. We were just at the Old Ebits, I think that's how you say it, across from the White House, where they filmed 2 scenes with Clint Eastwood in The Line of Fire, where he played the Secret Service agent.
Oh, wow.
And he's sitting there at the bar in 2 of the scenes. That we sat and had dinner right across from that. That was a lot of fun. Maybe I should show that clip. Reagan, do we have that clip? I'll show that later tonight. Let me do that. That was kind of fun. So I like movie history, but yeah, you watch The Firm, and we can just pick out all over town where they're at, where they're filming. But they filmed that here in Memphis. But the Peabody opens at the top of the roof.
Wow, that is really cool because that was a pretty big movie. Because there's been some movies in St. Louis, but they weren't big movies like that.
Yeah, that one did very well. Very well.
I was in Boston a couple of years ago, and I actually we had a tour, we had a bike tour, and I actually went to see the actual Cheers, where Norm, who just passed away.
He just died yesterday.
Yeah. And so, we got to go to that bar and just kind of check it out and check out that whole area. That was kind of cool.
It is fun.
That's the closest I've come to, being in a place where things like that have been recorded.
Yeah.
So.
Well, they filmed that big scene with Tom Cruise and Hackman right there, and most people are absolutely oblivious. They have no idea what went down there. But there's several spots around town. It's mostly the people who come to town as tourists who go to those spots. The locals are just kind of oblivious. They either don't care or they moved to the area after it, never heard about it, think about it. But you can actually go online and they'll tell you where to eat, what restaurants to go to that are in the Firm, and you can hit all these places. And there's actually kind of Johnny Cash lived in town. Charlie Rich, the country singer, lived in town. Their homes are all here. I mean, I could take you and show you. Yeah, Charlie Rich lived there. Johnny Cash lived there. Yeah, a lot of those guys. There's a lot of history here in Memphis for those who care.
Yeah, I'll tell you something else. The college football people are crazy.
They're nuts.
They are nuts. And while we were there, ESPN happened to be right in the morning. We woke up to a lot of cheering and screaming, and we're like, "What's going on?" You go out there, and it was SMU and Memphis, and wow,
the football teams. A lot of them stay. The visiting teams stay at the Peabody.
Yeah. Well,
so we've been down there for dinner, and the lobby is full of these 6'4", 6'5" guys, football players, and they're packing on the protein for football the next day, and the lobby's full of them, and all their fans are wearing their clothes from whatever city they're from. But yeah, Memphis does a good job showing them some hospitality, and they all love to stay at the Peabody.
Yes. Yeah, that was fun. And also, just FYI, I know we're totally off topic, but also all the parents that travel, that's who I was seeing.
Yep.
Going up and down the elevators. And I'm just like, man, you guys are so dedicated.
Yes, they are. Yes, they are. And they also have a good piano player at the grand piano in the Peabody foyer.
Yeah, yep. I remember hearing a piano too. That's pretty awesome. It's been a while. Yeah, it's a fun city.
And you ought to go there at Christmas time when they decorate for Christmas with their Christmas trees. And
that's beautiful.
You can sit in the lobby and have hot tea. They'll bring you hot tea or whatever you want. And
What's that big center? What's that big center right in front of? I'm trying to think. Was that where our concert was at? There's like this big, huge center right in front of the Peabody Hotel, I think.
You probably, was the concert outside?
No, it was inside. It was a Christian concert. So it's a small, maybe a little smaller venue.
I wonder
but
what venue you were at.
that's what I'm trying to remember. I can't think of it.
Well, I'll have to check the map because I don't know of anything right there by the Peabody where you have been inside. But it could have been a block or two away. But
Yeah, maybe a block or two away.
now we have the pyramid, Bass Pro Pyramid with alligators and all kinds of stuff. Yeah, that's
Wow.
really cool. They've done a really good job. That's set empty for way too many years, and now they've turned it into a Bass Pro with alligators and all kinds of cool stuff. It's actually, they have bowling. They have a really nice bowling, and you can order up big pizzas and bowl and yeah.
Out of the Bass Pro?
That's at the Bass Pro Pyramid. So when you come to
Pyramid,
Memphis,
the Bass
remember
Pro
seeing the
Pyramid.
pyramid when you come through on the bridge, either the
Yeah.
I-40 or I-55 bridge, you'll see if you come on the I-40 bridge, you are right there. You almost reach out and touch it. But that sat empty for way too many years before they could negotiate what they're going to do with it. But it's been turned into a Bass Pro, like I said, with a great restaurants, bowling, pizza. You can actually go to the top, and then it's got amazing lookout from up top to take pictures of the Delta and everything. It's beautiful.
Oh,
Yeah, Memphis
wow.
has a lot to offer. It gets a bad rap. It
It does get a bad rap because of all the crime, and it's like crime central. But man, I
Yeah.
think that's changing.
But they're cleaning it up, and that's only if you're in really the bad areas. I mean, if you go to the bad areas, everybody knows where those are. You stay out of those. But we live in the suburbs, so that's where our conference will be. You'll be fine. But and you'll be fine at the Peabody because again, people know where the problems are, and they really protect those areas because of tourism. The cops are everywhere. But Kash Patel is sending in a whole team
I know.
to clean
I was
up
just going to
Memphis.
tell you that. I saw that interview this
Yep.
weekend.
He's
Where
coming
he-
here with a task force to clean up Memphis, and we're thanking the Lord.
Yes, exactly.
And I
love
think
it.
Elon, my wife said, Brandon, don't you think Elon had something to do with it? Because Elon, is building his big, humongous AI center here.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Oh, yeah.
my
He bought the old Electrolux building, and he's built
Oh, my
this.
God.
He's built the largest computer, I think, in the world here with his Grok. And she said, don't you think that Kash Patel was nudged by President Trump and Elon to clean up Memphis so that he can bring these employees here and have his work and they can buy houses? And I said, it makes sense to me. So I think Elon may have something to do with it. And we're all thanking the Lord because the projections for the Mid-South from Memphis is that it will become what is known as the Dixie Digital. The Dixie Digital. So it'll be a digital hub, a major digital hub for computers and processing and data centers. They're calling it the digital or Dixie Digital Delta. But they said the projections for Memphis, if they get the crime under control, the projections for Memphis growth and money coming in here is like going up because they're doing a massive renovation of the airport. They're building a couple other major. They're bringing in massive money to redo parts of Memphis. And if they get the crime under control, it's going to attract more because we have FedEx, we have International Paper, we have St. Jude's, we now have Elon. We have a lot of major corporations here. But if they get the crime under control, the long-term scenario for Memphis is very, very good. The only thing we got to take care of is the crime. That's it.
Yeah, that is amazing.
So God bless Kash Patel is what I say.
No kidding. I was kind of surprised when I heard that, but then also while I was there, a couple of times, it is kind of the drivers there are very opinionated. I'll just
They're
say
very
that.
aggressive.
They
Yes,
are.
they're very aggressive drivers in
Maybe
Memphis.
not.
You
And
go
I'm
from-
not aggressive at all, but I do put on my aggressive hat when I drive through there because I need to, really be paying attention.
They will let you know if you're going too slow. Yeah, when you come over the bridge from Arkansas into Memphis, you realize, okay, we're back in Memphis because
Exactly.
and people that are friends of mine is like, people out here in Memphis drive like nowhere else I've seen. And I'm like,
Yeah,
that's right. There's this particular attitude on the interstate. There absolutely is. So keep your speed up. And if you have to, you might have to go a little higher than the speed limit to keep up with everybody else. Stay out of trouble. But it's crazy. People be hauling down the interstate. All the cars are going way over the speed limit, and the Memphis cops will be just humming right along with everybody else. They're like, They don't even, sometimes they don't even mess with it. They just keep flowing.
Who do you choose in this?
They just keep going with it themselves. All right. As always, a great conversation, and we never know where we'll end up. That's fun. So we'll look forward to seeing you, and all of our people can see you and Tina Friday night, October 3rd and 4th, part of our conference in Collierville.
Yeah.
Right outside of Memphis.
Have
you been to Graceland, by the way?
Oh, yes. I've been to Graceland. I've been to, definitely.
All right.
Yeah.
Make sure you've done that.
Oh, yeah. It's been a long time ago, so I don't know if things have changed.
Oh, yes. They've added quite a bit and added on. Yes.
Then I should probably,
Probably time to go again.
Yeah.
All right.
Well,
I'm going to
so much, Brannon.
I'm going to send you the screenshot of my yogurt,
Yes, definitely do that.
and then let me know when all that other stuff is in.
I will.
All right. Dr. Bashima Williams checking in, folks. My Vitamin, no S on that, myvitamin.com/worldview.
WVW Broadcast Network is pleased to present House to House with your hosts, Brannon and Melissa K. Howse. From cooking, decor, tablescapes, home improvement, and on-location reports that highlight American history, ingenuity, and free market capitalism that makes America great. And now, here are your hosts, Brannon and Melissa K.
Hello, I'm Brannon Howse.
And I'm Melissa Howse.
And welcome to House with your host, Melissa Howse. This is our Thanksgiving 2024 television special. And
Can you believe it's 2024?
I know, the end of 2024.
I can't believe it's
Can you believe
the end
it?
of November.
I mean, wow. It seems like yesterday we were doing our Christmas cookies for 2023.
Your Christmas cookies?
Remember that?
Yeah,
December
I remember
2023, and here we
I
are
know,
in November
this year's
2024.
gone. It's flown by.
It has. And we're going to do a special for Christmas, aren't we?
We are.
Yeah. And
are.
I don't have a clue what we're doing today. This is totally her show. She's the host of this show. I'm going to learn along with you guys what we're doing. I just walked in here, and so I'm going to ask all the questions you're asking. What are we doing today? What
We are
is all
doing
this?
a couple appetizers that you could make for Thanksgiving or anytime.
Mm-hmm.
And then, the cheese ball is perfect for Thanksgiving. And then a few side dishes as well for Thanksgiving. And a couple of them are very easy, just if you're struggling to find something for last minute. A couple of them might fit what you want to do.
Good.
So, yes.
I'm very intrigued by this one right here with
I know, you're going to do
that
that.
one's really cute.
Thank you.
Yeah, that's cute. What is that? Let's
Well,
just show them real quick.
It's not put together yet.
It's not
but
put together yet, but that's really cute.
It's going to be a cheese ball, and it's going to be a turkey cheese ball.
A turkey cheese ball. That's really cute. The little nose. The candy corns.
I know. We had to
Really
go
cute.
looking for candy corn, didn't we?
Yeah, we couldn't find candy corns. We finally found one store that had about 6 bags left.
So if you need candy corn for any Thanksgiving recipes, you need to go.
You might have to order them on Amazon.
Yeah, you're probably going
You
to
probably have to order
have to
them.
go before we did. So.
Yeah.
Okay,
All right,
so which
what are
one
we
should we
gonna
start with? I think we'll start with the appetizers.
Okay.
So down here, we'll start with this one, and this is just a Heath bar. It's cream cheese and powdered sugar and vanilla, and then on top of it, we're going to drizzle a little caramel, and then we're going to put Heath.
And what is it you're making?
It's a caramel apple dip.
A caramel apple dip.
Yes, you like that.
I
don't
love
you?
caramel apple.
And then I will have. Do you want to cut up the apple?
Oh yeah.
There's a cutting board right there. You can just move that in front of you. While I mix all this, you can be cutting up the apple.
Okay.
So this is just 1 block of cream cheese, and then I'm going to add.
Oh, just kidding.
I really thought you cut yourself. I think this is a half a cup, but all the measurements will be on the website. It's a half cup of powdered sugar. So we're going to put that in with the cream cheese, and you want to let your cream cheese sit at room temperature for a little while to get it soft so you can mix it all together. And then a teaspoon of vanilla. So it's just the cream cheese, the powdered sugar, and then a teaspoon of vanilla. And then I'm going to mix all this up.
You know what's really interesting is the dogs were all asleep until I cut this apple. Our dogs love apple. Dolly knows the word apple.
You give them apple.
I do. I give them apple, and they were
Apples
all
are
three.
healthy for dogs, by the way.
All 3 of them were asleep. They were all 3. Lily, the little deaf and blind one over here, even heard it. She's 10. I think her sight is going and her hearing. But she heard me working on this apple. All 3 of them were asleep. And they heard me cut that apple. Boy, they woke up. But guys, I'm sorry. This is not for you. Did you guys see my new puppy? Have I told you guys about my new puppy?
I think so.
all
I think
talk
they've heard
about,
all about
Look at
Dolly.
that face. Look at that face.
You have your newspaper in case she
Yeah,
jumps at the counter.
I got my newspaper ready to go.
She's in her naughty phase.
She's in her naughty phase.
She likes to jump at the counter. So.
Melissa came up with the word. What do you call it? Counter surfing. That's what she likes to do. So she knows.
Yes. Okay, so I'm just mixing up this cream cheese, powdered sugar, and vanilla. You might want to use a mixer, a hand mixer, but you'll get the idea. So it doesn't have any lumps in it, but we're just doing it kind of quick here right now. Just trying to get any of the lumps out of it. But I probably would use a hand mixer just to get it really smooth if you're wanting it a perfect consistency. And then we're just going to spread this in the bottom of the pan like that. And then on top of the layer of cream cheese, powdered sugar, and vanilla, we are going to drizzle some caramel sauce. And you want to make sure your caramel is like set out at room temperature as well. And this is about a cup of caramel that you can do.
Now that was cream cheese?
Cream cheese, powdered sugar, and vanilla.
Because you know how I feel about cream cheese.
But you have, your favorite dip is cream cheese.
Well, now you just ruined it for me.
No, you like cream cheese.
I don't care what cream cheese.
He likes cream cheese. He just,
But unless you doctor it up.
No, you say that all the time, but you actually like cream cheese. Okay, so
someone's over here counter surfing.
Okay, so we're gonna drizzle this caramel on top of the cream cheese, powdered sugar, and vanilla.
Just to clarify, I like cream cheese if it's so disguised I don't know it's cream cheese.
Okay, I've told you your favorite dip has.
But you do something to it.
We've had this discussion before.
But you do something to it, so I can't.
You also like cream cheese in your mashed potatoes. When I don't
put. You're doing something to disguise it.
But okay, and you can just drizzle it on here. It's not looking too pretty right now, but you know, if you have more time, you can make it look prettier. But the Heath is going to go on top of this, so it doesn't really.
So what would you do? Cut up little pieces of apple and then dip it in there?
Yeah, did you cut those up small, like thinner pieces? About
like
three.
Long, thin pieces?
Yes, please.
Oh, so I can give one to the dog then. Here we go.
No, those aren't for the dog.
Here we go, Dolly. You want some? Logan, let's show her. Here, come on up. You want some apple? Come up to me. There you go. Want some apple? There you go.
Okay.
Is that
So
good?
on top, we'll put that there. And then, this is very easy. And then on top of that, we just, some broken up Heath candy bars, or you can buy it already broken up like this. And just drizzle that on top. And I think it makes a good fall appetizer.
Do you want to?
So there. Do you want me to
Do
show?
you want to? What do you want to put
There you go.
my little apple slices on?
You can stick them right in here.
Where?
Just stick them in here and then
Really?
like that. And then people could grab them out of here.
Aren't you creative? Well, that's why you host the show, not me.
So you can either put them on their own platter or you can just stick them in there and people can grab them out. Do you have some more for me? Just don't cut my finger.
I'll try not to.
All right.
Here you go, love. Here's some more. I'm going to give these to the dog. Here you go, Lily. Here you go, Dolly. Where's the little white dog? Where's Pearl?
She's sleeping.
Oh, here comes Pearl. Here you go, Pearl. Oh, Dolly got it. Sorry, Pearl. Come on, Pearl. Get it. Oh, good. Good job. Oh, no counter surfing. All right, there you go. There's 2 more pieces for you.
All right.
Look at that.
It makes it kind of pretty if you do this, don't you think? So will you try it since it has cream cheese in it? You